afternoon, everyone. How are y'all doing? I hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday so far. As you can see, the anglerfish costume won the costume poll today. Indeed, it is a bountiful fish, miss. How's it going, everyone? Hey, Trey, what's up? Glad to see y'all here for another Sovereign Citizen watch. We have all sorts of weird Sovereign Citizen arguments going on today. Eric Martin is back, who's been very, very regular in court as a sovereign citizen. He's here to fuck up his own stuff, as he is one to do. We have this guy back again, still talking bullshit, and more. So it should be good. How's it going? Oh, I don't think I have any housekeeping. If you like the stream and you want to help support it, I'd always appreciate gift subs, gift memberships, becoming a subscriber or a member yourself. Tips and bits. All right, let's jump into it, shall we? Does the fish lantern light up? No. That would be cool if it did, though. But unfortunately, no. It just hangs here, strangely phallically, staring into my dead lights. Anyway, let's start the first video. It's Lambo Guy. Ooh, housekeeping, like on YouTube. That's a good one. I've only been doing this about a decade. You'd think I'd know how to professionally manage a stream. Anyway, like the stream on YouTube.
Alright, what's up, y'all? Here's another one. So, I've been hearing people talk about, oh, I tried this, and I'm not getting any results, no matter what I do, no matter what I send. And so, my number one thing to say about that is, what's your process? All processes are not the same, and there you go, baby. And there's more than one way to get remedy. You can send in a bill of exchange. You can tender a negotiable instrument.
You can do whatever you want. That doesn't mean they're going to listen to you. If you do what this guy says and you try and send in a bunch of nonsense financial instruments in order to try and deal with your debts, you're going to get fucked.
You can send in a bond. You can do an acceptance for value, which is also codified in UCC 3-409. There's many ways you can do it, but one thing they don't respect is a double-minded person. So, hold on, I'll put this down. So, if you're double-minded and you're trying to get some sort of right.
No cake in the P.O. box yet? Yeah, I think I got an email that it's on the way. I get emails when people send me stuff to the P.O. box. It lets me know stuff is on the way. So I think it'll still be a few days.
Anyway, trying to get some sort of right, but you're accepting.
Here's the thing, Rick M. I have the list.
Benefits and privileges from the government. Well, you're definitely not going to get the remedy that you're seeking. If you're using a social benefits and privileges, you must be standing in your true capacity, not accepting privileges and benefits from the government, and actually acting like a sovereign, like a creditor, like a state citizen, like a national, someone that's actually handling what they're supposed to be doing and not acting as a dependent, as a ward of the court, someone that's legally disabled. You're considered to
legally disabled. He's calling people who follow the law legally disabled. Wow. Jimmy Tea Time, thanks for 16 months, says, hey, Elon is shitting on Wikipedia again. Don't forget to donate to them if you can afford it. I donate $3 to Wikipedia every month and have for years. Please donate to Wikipedia. It's one of the greatest sources of free knowledge to ever exist on planet Earth. $1 a month to Wikipedia. I beg of you.
legally disabled if you need an attorney. And incompetent is not a insulting term that I have created out the goddamn air. That's something that literally exists. If you don't know the law, you're considered an incompetent.
I did hear that Ashley one up. Here's the thing. Whenever I see a post like that that's like, LOL, did you see that Trump did a thing that if you actually took it very literally and specifically, it would actually mean this other thing? Haha! I just go, all right, that's a cope. Do you think that means anything and will actually nullify the order in some way? No, it doesn't matter, so why bring it up? I find that stuff to be so petty and stupid.
You're considered an incompetent, you're considered a ward of the court, and thus you need an attorney. So don't get mad at me because I'm simply repeating the facts and stating how things go. If you are trying to discharge a debt and it's not acting, things aren't going the way that you wish they would, then that means you're doing something incorrectly. It's not the process. I didn't make any of this stuff up. All this stuff has been around for years. The bankruptcy occurred in 1933, people. That's almost 100 years ago. None of this is new. The 1940 Buck Act happened in 1940. So
YouTube's not giving you notifications for me anymore. Yeah, make sure you have notifications for me turned on. It gets turned off randomly if you don't watch people consistently, or sometimes just randomly. So if you don't, turn on the bell notification or whatever other thing you gotta do. I don't know. Alton Undying says, hey Hannah, I sent you a private message on Discord. Please get back to me when you can. Also, hope you and Baha are well. Thank you. Will do.
Security Act, the Securities Exchange Act, all that stuff, trustee indenture, that all happened decades ago.
Especially considering, by the way, we've already seen some of the algorithm changes since Trump became president again. Make sure you have notifications turned on for me. I'm gonna assume it's gonna get a lot harder to see a lot of creators that you like if they happen to not be super right-wing weirdos. So, you know.
So, the fact of the matter is that you are just not aware of all of this. So once you become aware, you just have to do things correctly, create your own entities, your own private trust, your own estate, your own irrevocable trust, whatever you want to use. You just have to create your own stuff to use and stop using these entities that were created by the government. The straw man, that was not created by you. So
there is no straw man. Good news. Yeah, also, if you want to make sure you get notifications, join the Discord. Here's the link. And you'll never miss a stream. And you'll also get to vote on costumes and stuff. So,
how to get remedy? Read. Learn. Am I just going to help you for free and discharge your debt for free and become your guardian while having you delusionally think that you're going to have all the capacity and power to say and do whatever you want and walk around delusionally calling yourself a creditor, and you don't know basic words like colorable, discharge, debt, negotiable instrument? You don't know the UCC. You can't even handle your affairs, but you want somebody else to do it for you. That is called a double-minded person. That is not who I respect, nor does this system respect. It will chew you up and spit you out. So read, learn. The remedy's there. You just have to know how to actually enforce. You can send them as many papers as you want to, but if you don't know how to enforce the document, if you don't know how to sue them in court,
he does know these words.
Or something
he certainly spins up a hell of a word salad. Hey, Nemesaur.
Of that nature, you're just sending a bunch of paperwork out there, and they're gonna come stomp on you. So, just food for thought, peeps.
If that was food for thought, I'm starving. Oh, what else do we have? Let's get into the Eric Martin video. Eric Martin has been in front of the court many times. We have seen him in court many times. You can see he's in the middle left. He is here for a motion to try and get him released because he has been in jail, I believe, for 28 days on a misdemeanor domestic abuse charge. It may have actually not even been for the charge itself. I believe he had already been arraigned for that charge. He had gotten off on bail. He then returned to the residence he was not supposed to as per his bond agreement. So he was brought in to the jail again for violating that bond agreement, and now he's been in for 28 days. Apparently, as per Michigan court whatever, because it's a misdemeanor after 28 days, even if he can't pay bond, typically you would let someone go on a personal recognizance bond because, keeping people in jail indefinitely until their trial isn't the greatest thing to do. In this case, however, Eric Martin is going to fuck himself up. He's gonna fuck himself up on this. He could have gone home today, but what do you know? He's gonna ruin it for himself and he's gonna stay in jail. So, let's check out this video and see how he, how he does.
I understand your position, Mr. Martin. Are you telling me that you... And this is a...
Freeline says, yeah, like how Instagram got caught accidentally blocking searches with Democrat in them. A complete accident and totally not a result of Meta's messing with their search algorithm.
Scheduled pretrial conference on the charge of domestic violence.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Nicholas Darren on behalf of Mr. Martin, who appears before us via Zoom. Mr. Martin, if you could state your name for the record, please.
Capital E, lowercase R-I-C, of the capital M, lowercase A-R-T-I-N, family, a private living man, one of the sovereign people.
Okay, then?
All right. Yeah, this is the pretrial conference. So are you Eric Martin, yes or no?
The living man has been known as by Eric Martin, yes, not the legal fiction corporate entity.
They want some, like, foam for that room, because the audio is really difficult to hear, and I think a lot of it's because of the echo. Literally get, like, $30 worth of audio foam on Amazon and stick it on the walls. Not like the prisoners are gonna hurt themselves on the foam. It's foam. They're fine.
The defendant, though. Spell the whole capital letter's name.
Yeah, you're Eric Martin, in other words.
The living man has been known as Eric Martin, yes, not a legal fiction corporate entity, though.
Yeah, Mr. Dillon.
Your Honor, I was recently appointed to this case. The prosecutor just sent me the discovery. Mr. Martin has informed me that he filed a couple motions with the court. I haven't had a chance to review them, but in discussing them with them, one of them I'd be comfortable just asking the court. I think I can do it orally even. Mr. Martin has been incarcerated for about 38 days now. And under the applicable court rule on a misdemeanor case, if he's been incarcerated for 28 consecutive days, he can be released on a personal recognizance bond. I think that that's appropriate in this case. The delay in this case was not any fault of his or anything like that. It's just his
attorney says the delay is not any fault of his, which the attorney's trying to be a zealous advocate. I can respect that even if I disagree with what he's saying. Eric Martin several times required a change of lawyer from the public defender's office because he is so difficult to work with. So I would agree that this case is taking longer than it typically would to get to the actual hearing for his bond violation. However, I would argue that that is in large part because Eric Martin is so difficult to work with and has made it impossible for him to actually sit down and talk to a lawyer and come up with a legal strategy because Eric Martin is demanding they do this sovereign citizen stuff. So Eric Martin here is going to try and claim like, oh, I should be let out. He doesn't want to just be let out on personal recognizance. He thinks the case should be dropped altogether, which of course it's not going to be. But I get the vibe that maybe he was hoping that if he could get past 28 days in jail for this, they'd just let him go. And of course, that's not going to happen.
He's unable to post the bond. So I would ask that his bond be changed to a personal recognizance bond from, I believe it's the $1,000 bond that he has to post. Additionally, I just, like I said, received all the discovery and whatnot. I would need an opportunity to review that. If Mr. Martin would be comfortable wanting to argue his own motions, I have no problem with that. But I have not had a chance to read them, and I would like to know, I wanted to be able to compare them accordingly to the police reports to see what they were. But I do know that just based off of what he's told me, he's been incarcerated for, I believe my count was 38 days. Today will be the 39th day on a 93-day misdemeanor, which would allow for him to be released under the Michigan court rules.
Hello? Am I
Yeah, it
heard?
looks like the lawyer's in his car.
No? Hello?
Yeah, do we have the prosecutor available on this matter?
Say something?
Sorry, I just zoomed ahead a little bit because the prosecutor was off screen for a second. Now he comes back.
So, yeah, this is on the Eric Martin case, charged as a misdemeanor domestic violence, originally placed on a personal bond. My understanding that
I'm
he
curious what the qualifications are for misdemeanor domestic violence, because when I hear domestic violence, I don't think misdemeanor, you know? Like, what is the bar for misdemeanor and what is the bar for felony? Is it a lack of physical contact? Like, is it just the threat? Is it like throwing things towards someone?
violated bond, and the bond was reset at 2,000 cash because he violated, I think, by having, I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, contact with the victim.
Judge, Alex Springer for the people, P number PH6590. Judge, it's the people's understanding that the defendant cannot go to that address and went to that address, and he was then taken into custody because of that address that he went to, he's not allowed to go to.
So, yeah, and so, Mr. Darren, you want to renew your argument about time period of being in custody on a misdemeanor case and why bond should be personal bond?
Yeah, Your Honor. Just I'll just briefly, as I did kind of let the prosecutor know, he's been incarcerated for, by my count, 38 days since December 17th when he was picked up. And he's now out. It'll be 38 days, 39 after tonight.
While they're talking about this, I'm going to look up the difference between the two, because I believe this is Michigan. Yeah, there's a Michigan seal there. So I'm going to look this up while they're talking.
The court rule states that after 28 days, he can be released on a personal recognizance bond. There are most of the reasons that it would be denied is based on some sort of delay that's attributable to the defense. I know he's had a couple attorneys, but there's always been the court dates have been set. So I think he would be eligible for the release on the personal recognizance bond.
We also have to say,
Okay, so it appears to be based on how many convictions you have for it. Something along those lines, because here it says the first conviction's a misdemeanor up to 93 days and a $500 fine. Second conviction is a misdemeanor up to a year in jail and a $1,000 fine. Third conviction becomes a felony up to 5 years in prison or a $5,000 fine. Kind of funny you get a 3 strikes on that, isn't it? There is aggravated, of course, which is higher, and you only get 2 strikes on that, I believe. But that's still interesting. You get the first one and it's a misdemeanor. It's higher with a dangerous weapon and it's an immediate felony. With intent to commit murder is a felony. Commit great bodily harm is also a felony. So, yeah. It seems that it's both based on number of times, if it's a lesser assault, and if it's a bodily injury or higher, it's an immediate felony.
Just 1 minute, Mr. Martin. We'll hear from the prosecutor.
Yes, Judge, the people, the victim has been sending conversation talks to the victim advocate, and the people would ask if the defendant is released on a bond that the defendant would have a tether placed on the defendant. Therefore, that it can be rest assured that the defendant makes no contact with the complaining witness in this matter.
All right. Yeah, did you want to be heard, Mr. Martin?
yes, okay, now, I want to add, under, not only should, before we get to the bond issue, the case should be dismissed.
Yeah, I didn't see on the list I was looking at for Michigan, but I would imagine it's probably a felony if it's a child.
which I did file a motion to dismiss already. The court probably just received this. I sent out not too long ago, like last week. Anyways, under MCR 6.004, subsection C 1 through 6 makes it clear that I have a speedy trial right within 28 days. Since I've been in jail illegally over 28 days, this case should be dismissed based on a violation of my speedy trial right. And based on the court rule I just named off, I'll say it again, case everyone heard clearly. MCR 6.004, subsection C 1 through 6, that is the criteria that is to be followed for speedy trial time computations, not the normal.
Holly has his cracker says, am I understanding that they're talking about releasing him even though he was violent to his spouse? I don't, it was domestic violence. I don't think it was his spouse. I think it was either his mom or someone else in his family, but they're not actually going to release him. He wants the case to be dropped. His lawyer wants him released on a personal recognizance bond, which he almost does get, but don't worry, he fucks it up and he's staying in jail. It was his sister and brother. There you go.
Excluding Saturdays and Sundays and legal holidays. That's
oh, yeah. Eric Martin's brother is in the middle. Kurt Martin? So that's the victim. There you go.
always been followed wrongly, but it's not, like I said, it doesn't apply to speedy trial. So my right to speedy trial has been violated. The case should be dismissed. So
what's personal recognizance? It's basically saying, hey, we're going to let you out of jail now, but you got to come back when it's time for your trial. It's basically you're free to go until you got to come back for your trial and stuff. And you don't have to pay a cash bond.
I want that decided on first before we address the bond issue, because as long as that's granted like it should be, then the bond's no issue. But so once the decision's reached on the motion to dismiss, I just filed now. Then once the decision's on that, then I'll address the bond if it's not granted. But that's all I have to say on that for right now.
Yeah, Mr. Ringo?
Yes, Judge, the defendant doesn't get the benefit of picking new counsel, and then when picking new counsel, reach a date where the case will then be dismissed. There's been, I believe this is the third or fourth.
You're correct, Just a Peach. I was misremembering. The siblings live in a house that their parents left them, and he hit the brother.
Defense counsel representing the defendant, and if it would be then in court's client to dismiss this outright, then defendants would be able to set the ability to just keep picking new defense counsels, and once they get to 28 days, be able to argue that it wasn't a speedy trial and then have the matter dismissed. So it's the people's argument that the case should remain as charged, addressing bond again, that if the defendant is released on personal bond, but on a tether.
I gotta talk to.
Okay, now what he just said was, I was going to say it's irrelevant nonsense. I've been in jail since the 14th
Irrelevant nonsense that it's my fault it's taken this long.
of December. That's a fact. Cannot be
Is
disputed.
this the one the sister wants to sell? I think that's a separate case. That's a separate case where there's the house for sale.
I've been in jail since the 14th of December when I was arrested by Taylor cops illegally, based on no evidence, based on my brother's lying allegation that I sold him, which is all it is, it's a lying allegation. But anyways, the fact is I've been in jail on the 14th till now. It's over 28 days. The court rule again, MCR 6.004, subsection C 1 through 6 makes it clear when you are in jail consistently for 28 days, your right to speedy trial has been violated. It demands the case, calls for the case to be dismissed. Simple as that. Everything else the prosecutor's saying is nonsense.
I'm in this video and I don't understand how I got put here.
All right, we're going to put you on mute, Mr. Kerr. This isn't your case at this
I'm
time.
supposed to be the defendant or the plaintiff or whatever. Hello?
All right. Yeah, who's speaking now?
This is Kurt Martin. the brother,
All right, did you want to comment on this whole matter at this time, Mr. Martin?
no, I mean, no. I couldn't even I didn't even know it was today, the court. Thought that it was yesterday, and I was just called by the prosecutor that it's going on today. I've been hospitalized, and I'm now in a facility that's taking care of me, and so I don't have nothing really to comment about. I mean,
All right, very good.
I just want to make sure that you can see me and I was heard, because there's nobody that see me or nothing.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Kurt Martin. So, all right, I'm denying the defendant's motion to dismiss based upon his changing of defense attorneys. The delays appear to be to a great measure caused by him by violating.
I don't believe he was hospitalized due to the actions of his brother. I think it's unrelated. At least it hasn't come up until now.
His bond conditions and repeatedly changing attorneys. That motion is denied. I will allow a personal bond in the case.
Because I feel like if he injured him to the point that he was in the hospital, he wouldn't have been charged with just misdemeanor domestic battery or domestic violence. It would have been the felony with intent to do bodily harm or whatever.
$2,500 conditional upon a GPS tether and preventing the defendant from going within 1 mile of the victim's residence or having any contact with the victim, as well as no alcohol or illegal controlled substances coming to court when required.
Okay, so the judge is not dismissing the case, but right now he's saying, all right, we're going to release you on a personal recognizance bond so you can leave jail. Eric Martin is about to fuck this up.
Advising the court of changes of address or telephone number and not leaving the state without the consent of the court, not to possess any weapons and or firearms. And we'll give you another date for court. That'll be, we're going to need an address for you or phone number, Mr. Eric Martin, for that hearing. Or you can come to the court and get that date. Come to the court and get that date, Mr. Eric.
I have objections to, can I talk now? I have objections to your order now. Can I make objections now to your order?
I did not hear that.
He wants to make objections to his order letting him go. Okay.
I said I have objections to your order. Now, first of all, in objection to your order, no dealing has been attributed to me switching attorneys. That's false. Okay? I have not intentionally said, give me this attorney over that attorney. Whatever they did, that's what they did. You know what I mean? I told Slavin from the jump, yes, I want an attorney. Nothing is attributable to me. So the motion should have been granted, number one. Number two, even if you still don't grant the motion to dismiss like you're supposed to, I object to the bond condition. They violate my due process rights. I don't lose my due process right to be in my house. I've been living there for 32 years.
He thinks that it's a due process right that during the duration of this criminal proceeding, he's not allowed to go back to the home where he allegedly domestically abused his brother. That's not how this works, man. Phyllis Filler says a bold strategy, Hannah. Let's see if it pays off for him.
The house I've been living at for 32 years, regardless whether it's mine or not, okay?
Do you
Based on an unsupported lie.
I understand your position, Mr. Martin. Are you telling me that you're unable to abide by my bond conditions?
That's right, because I have no other house to go to.
All right, Mr. Martin.
I have no other house to go to. And it violates my due process anyways.
Yes, so Mr. Martin is telling me preemptively he will not abide by those bond conditions. Therefore, I am going to change the bond back to the original bond and keep it at the cash bond because
He was gonna get to leave today.
poses a serious threat to the community. He's already demonstrated he won't comply with the bond conditions. And now he's preemptively telling me that he will not comply with the bond conditions I've just set. So therefore, your bond is remaining at what it was before, the cash bond. We will reset the pretrial conference and a notice will be sent out for that next pretrial conference. Same bond conditions. And
That violates my due process. I'm gonna appeal this now. I'm gonna appeal this to the Court of Appeals ASAP. It all violates my due process. It violates my.
And they muted him.
All right, thank you. That's gonna end the hearing.
Fun fact, when you're going to appeal your case to the Court of Appeals, you are not required to yell about it at the judge that you're mad at. You can just silently be like, okay, and then go file your stuff. You don't need to yell at the judge about it. Sovereign citizens seem to think that's a requirement, and I don't know why. Let's see what we're gonna... let's take a look at this real quick. Marcel's recruiting, using his AI, of course.
Earn $200 to $500 plus daily. We are...
I don't believe you. Just a peach with $1 tip says, I had the realization today that Sovsits and the elite both think that the other people should have to follow the law, but they should not have to because they are special. People being narcissistic and thinking that rules don't apply to them is unfortunately a pretty broad character trait in humans.
are hiring. Looking for money-hungry sharks. Fuck Trudeau and save freedom.
Okay, apparently you can get the AI to say fuck. Weirdly, almost gave Marcel a Hitler mustache. I'm gonna put that on there. Almost looks like they gave Marcel a Hitler mustache. But, whatever.
Can you sell? You will sell how to reclaim freedom and self-governance. If you are hardworking and believe in freedom, have hustler motivation and energy for making dollar, contact us today. You can earn $200 to $500 daily. We help found private law self-governing societies, get people out of income tax, most legal debt, title and rights to house, car, kids, and self back.
He'll probably say it's a Roman mustache. I don't even want to talk about the thing.
Also exempts men and women from legal system rules, which are not law. Legality is not law.
Is that an AI voice or just assisted? It's all AI. The video's AI. This whole thing is AI. Marcel made an AI of himself. So he just pumps out videos using this fucking fake Marcel, and it's so creepy.
Call or email to apply. www.privatelawtrusts.org.
Why is he making this with AI instead of recording it himself? Because I think he worships tech bros. I think he's the kind of guy that's super into crypto and AI. It's the new hype buzzword, so you gotta use it.
Private Law Trusts, Outlook.com, 204-899-7334. The legal system is deliberately inflicting hyperinflation, carbon tax, unlawful income tax, fraudulent debts, 15-minute cities, COVID, vax, genocide, and lockdowns, etc.
Wow, this is a lot of conspiracy buzzwords.
etc. Legal system is a crime syndicate, which is about to be replaced over next few years by indigenous common law.
Not over the next few years, over next few years. Why say much word when few word do trick?
If you are born on Earth, you are indigenous to Earth. This outranks corporate legal codes of corporations posing in fraud as government locally and federally. Citizenship equals owned slave, which is a fact. Call or email to apply. www.privatelawtrusts.org. Private Law Trusts, Outlook.com, 204-899-7334. Reclaim your freedom right now. Like video, follow channel, share video to help freedom grow globally.
Beautiful, beautiful Marcel. You're killing it. Please keep putting out the quality content. Hmm. How's Chief Motto? Let's see how Chief Motto
Brother,
is.
okay, I'm going to record this now and jump to the next topic unless you had any other questions for me. Did you already go to your hearing?
No, that's what I say. They called, but I was in with clients.
Do you want to call them back?
I don't even know what phone number I would use. I guess I could look.
Have caller ID?
It might.
Well, if you want to try that and mute out, if you get them on, you're welcome to jump in.
Oh, okay.
You just have to let them know that it's being recorded, that you're in the middle of a meeting with somebody and you have a next friend. That's what you say.
A next friend. Okay.
A next friend that you would like to sit in and listen.
Yeah, they asked if they could have other people listen in and do some training. Last time I said no.
Yeah. Well, that's, you know, again, if you invite me in and they say yes, I don't care who listens. More the merrier.
Correct. But you can't say anything at that point.
I can if you introduce me as your next friend and you tell them, hey, he has authorization to speak on this matter as my next friend. That's what a next friend is. They're there to assist you in an admiralty matter.
In an admiralty matter? Is this guy talking about calling into court?
Huh. Okay, let me look the number up. Go ahead and record.
Oh boy.
I'm already recording, but you can just mute out if you want. And if you get them on, you can tell them that. And if they let you record or, you know, they don't say anything, then just, you know, go ahead and unmute and I'll be listening.
Perfect. Okay, thanks.
All right, brother. I'm going to keep going on my end here.
Okay, bye.
Okay. So now we're going to talk about the MTO villages, okay? And how the MTO wampum actually works in conjunction with the MTO villages. So on the very top, okay, you have a village.
If you've not seen me cover this guy before, this is a relatively new person for us to cover. He is a random white guy, but he claims to be simultaneously a black, indigenous, Jewish Christian. So he basically made up his own indigenous tribe and is also trying to co-opt black identity for some reason and Jewish identity even though he's a Christian, and is using all of these things to claim that he is sovereign. Kind of interesting.
The village adopts the borders of the de jure county. There's only
So he's talking about starting his own village.
one village in every county. Okay, there's only one territorial tribal council. That's composed of all village chiefs. Okay, very simple. Don't overthink this. But in the village itself, everything between the inner and the outer wall, that's the public businesses, even though they are privately owned here in the village. Everything inside of the interior wall, that's all authentic, old, nothing new can be in there. Okay, but then out here in the public, this is where these LLCs that are owned in the village, this is where they operate. The LLCs are tax-paying entities, okay? However, all money that's deposited here into the MTO tribe or into the MTO village immediately gets converted to wampum. Wampum is free to exchange in our class 3 casinos in every single village.
Oh boy.
Okay. You can do it there for free. Or if you have an online account and you have, you know, you want access to that, then yes, you can transfer money. There's no fee in that. But if you're just depositing cold hard cash and you want to deposit that in as a member, okay, that has different requirements. That there's a 10% fee for those initial deposits. Why is that? Because that allows us to justify paying out 90% of the value of the wampum back to every village individually. Because each village, you have your own coin. All accounts tied to that coin, the money from that coin goes back to your village. If you're a business owner, ABC Plumbing, you have a coin.
Not shell. Okay, so when he says wampum, he's taking that name and he's applying it to. That's what he's calling some currency he has made up. So yes, there was a real thing called wampum, but he is taking that name and applying it to this currency because he's racist and is trying to, once again, appropriate something from like an indigenous thing, and he's just naming his currency that. Because he's going, I'm definitely a very real indigenous person. What will I call my money? I'll call it wampum.
Okay, you have one in the village. Now, if you're doing things in the
You
public,
don't think this guy understands how currency works? Insert the scene from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where they're trying to explain their Dave and Buster's currency.
you have to pay your taxes. If you're using US dollars, they're foreign currency debt instruments, you have to do that correctly. Forgot to hit the timer. But within the MTO villages themselves, we have our own courts, we have our own educational systems, we have our own language, we have our own flag. We have all the necessary accoutrements to prove that we are in fact a bona fide nation state.
Of course, the thing that makes the nation state. The flag. H. Barrett says, I'm truly amazed that nobody has started a wampum coin ICO. That's gotta be a thing. There's a lot of crypto scams. Heck, it's so popular, even the President of the United States is doing crypto scams. God bless America and our scam economy. Who needs to do anything productive when he can just trick people and steal?
That means that all of our flag registrations, they say the MTO tribe. Because the MTO tribe is the actual tribal entity, the nation, the state. Now, it's owned by MTO Ministries, yes, but that doesn't mean that MTO Ministries owns everybody who...
Do I play Marvel Rivals? I have not. I know it's a popular thing. I've not played it. I don't like multiplayer games that are competitive. I like co-op or like whatever games. I'm bad at competitive games. I'm not elite gamer, believe it or not.
Actually uses the wampum, even though they own the wampum. Why? Because the wampum has to be used for anybody that needs to buy or sell. We have to...
The wampum is the mark of the beast. MH Darkbeast says, on the bright side, he's no longer wearing the headdress, though it made him more terrible. It made him more terrible to watch him. I think one of these videos, did I not have... Oh, none of the videos I have pulled up of him have the headdress today. Lucky us.
Allow anybody to buy or sell. Because biblically, that's the means and methods for the Antichrist and all of their minions to bring people into accepting the mark of the beast against their will.
I was joking about the mark of the beast thing, but here we are. Rayline with a link.
And we built up empires. We stole countries. That's what you do. That's how you build an empire. We stole countries with the cunning use of flags. Yeah. You just sail around the world and stick a flag in. I claim India for Britain. And they go, you can't claim us, we live here. 500 million of us.
You got a flag?
Do you have a flag? We don't need a bloody flag. It's our country, you bastard. No flag, no country. You can't have one. That's the rules that I've just made up. And I'm backing it up with this gun that was lent from the National Rifle Association.
This is why it's imperative that not only do we have our villages, but we have our territorial governments in place. Why is this? So that foreign state, county, municipal, whatever you want to call them, all these Nisi Prius corporate courts, we can give them law.
Vexillology is violence.
Legal notice that, hey, guess what? This all caps name entity, that case right there, it's now being removed to our court's jurisdiction within the village. Why? Because we outrank you. We're not foreign.
Foreign is relative.
actually de jure American Indians. In the territory of Washington, we're
Sir, you're not. I promise you're not. I promise you're not.
known as Washingtonians. In Indiana, Indianites. Or Hoosiers, excuse me. Californians, if you're in the territory of California. Wyomingites, if you're in the Wyoming territory. We know who we are. That's the difference. So all foreign nations who continue to discriminate.
I don't understand if you're an indigenous person, you're identifying with the American names for these states.
Discriminate against me and my family and have been doing for multi-generations. We don't necessarily have to give you authorization to operate in our territories or our villages after they're established for public safety. Why is that? Because you have treaty obligations that you refuse to fulfill. I've called everybody but Santa Claus, FBI, state, elected representatives, Department of Justice, Department of State. Nobody seems to want to stand up and say, hey, guess what, peeps? You have no right to keep his weapons, even though you've recharacterized them and you call them firearms and you think that gives you a right to just magically steal them. No, that's not how it works.
He's so upset they took his guns.
No, you do not have a right to traffic his offspring in your courts and pretend like that you own them.
Sir, your kids were taken away because you're crazy. This isn't helping your case.
No, you do not have a right to withdraw his ability to travel and engage in commerce internationally by refusing to issue a passport. You don't have a right to do any of these things. And in fact, the obligations that you have contractually and according to those trust indentures that I referred to specifically say that you're not allowed to do that you in fact have to protect my rights, my interests. So until you actually do those things according to treaty law, I have a right and an obligation, according to the preamble to the Declaration, to take care of it ourselves.
Not like he's citing the Declaration of Independence. He's just pulling from everything. Tribal law, like whatever he considers to be like natural rights, the Declaration of Independence. Like he's just taking anything that he thinks will lend him the veneer of authority.
Which is why we are asking the Department of State to schedule all MTO Village elections for July 4th, for obvious reasons. Because we just decided we don't want to be part of a system if you're not going to protect our state.
James Lewis, thanks for subscribing on YouTube, and Just a Peach with $1 tip says, so I have a passing understanding of how a reservation is started. You have to be a tribe that can prove that you were present on the land previous to the US government showing up. He does not have enough time to do any of this stuff. No, of course not. It's all nonsense, but he thinks he can make himself look official and do this. It's absurd. He's basically cargo culting. Altered Undying with 40 bits says, I'm not a First Nation person, but here's a podcast that has real Native American news and issues. NativeAmericanCalling.com. Thank you for the link. Check that out, chat, if you're interested.
We'll still sit here and serve our public servants. We're going to give you 50% discounts in all of our fresh, locally grown fruits and vegetable gardens, the Vivian's Markets. But aside from that, if we choose not to cross-deputize you for public safety, you know why. It's because you've already proven you will not protect us. You're going to just take our weapons to the tune of $60 billion a year. That's how much the feds and the states combined take from people under RICO and these other statutory things.
If someone gets their weapons taken away under RICO, it means that they were involved in, like, racketeering. It means they were involved in, like, organized crime activity. So if someone gets something taken away under RICO, which is incredibly hard to prove, by the way, the feds don't charge people under RICO unless they're like, sure that they did the thing.
And that's why we have just decided, no, I don't.
Did I know PayPal wasn't an option in the tip link? I didn't. I saw the other day that stuff was going through a different thing, but I wasn't sure why. Not sure why it's doing that now. I'll look into it. You can still tip the other way. I'll still get it. It just takes a couple days. Huh.
I don't think so. We recognize your authority over your U.S. citizens. We recognize our authority over our members. And unfortunately, until your officers are properly trained, if they're not, one of our law enforcement officers, then you're not allowed to speak to one of my people for public safety. You don't have a right to stop them just because you don't recognize the plate unless you can articulate a crime that they were in the commission of.
Okay, not having a state registered plate and operating on public roadways.
So if you do that, you walk up and you don't have any authority or jurisdiction and you're asked that question, especially by me, the chief, you walk up to my door and you bark an order at me. The only question I'm going to ask you is, what crime are you investigating, servant?
Servant?
Oh, well, yeah, I don't recognize your plate. Great. So you just admitted you have no jurisdiction here. Give me one
No, they didn't.
more order and I'm placing you under arrest.
Try it. Yeah, arrest the cop. That usually goes well.
I happen to be the chief judge for our state, our nation as well.
I'm the chief judge. You're fucked.
I happen to be the chief prosecuting, attorney in fact for our nation as well under a limited admiralty license. So if I arrest you and you continue trying to pretend like you have authority to even speak to me, which one of us is going to prison after it gets in front of a 12-man jury?
You.
These are the things that the attorneys who train you in your academies will not tell you. Why? Because they want you risking your lives. They want you out there violating the rights of your fellow Americans. Why? Because then their chicken shit asses don't have to. They can sit back and collect all these bullshit fees to represent people against all these bullshit statutory admiralty charges that nobody would have agreed to had you been given the full disclosure in the first place.
They're not admiralty charges. Literally just have a license plate.
That's why.
Green guy tried to tip and couldn't, so thanks for looking into it. Let me look real quick. I'll keep this playing while I look.
Only one of us out here is actively trying to protect our law enforcement
It may have
officers
disconnected
from
my
being
PayPal
harmed,
for some
protecting and serving. Notice I did not say going out and collecting revenue. Supreme Court already admitted that that's who you are. You're revenue agents. The MTO veterans, the MTO law enforcement officers in each one of our village, we're not there for revenue. Anybody with a MTO plate with a dog tag, yeah, they're a veteran. Yeah, they're probably way better trained than any of your U.S. citizen public servants, but they're not allowed to make stops. They're only there to do what they said they would do when they took and affirmed that commitment to the Republic, and that means protect their fellow Americans. From who? From anybody who would attack them on the highways. Does that mean they're going to come up and open fire? No, not allowed to do that either. What they're allowed to do is they're allowed to record and they're allowed to call in assistance from the MTO law enforcement officers for that particular village. And then when that happens, they take it from there. They're the ones who are actually given authority.
I disconnected and reconnected that PayPal, so I don't know why it wasn't working before. Maybe it will now. If not, I might have to upgrade my PayPal to PayPal business account. I'm not sure.
To operate in that capacity. By who? By we the people, the members of the MTO nation within that village. So that's the extent of the MTO villages. It really needs to be covered. Like I said, class 3 gaming casino in each one of them so that those funds can be used to house our orphans, take care of our veterans, first responders.
I'm sure that the casino funds will go towards the orphans and not directly up your nose.
Not. But remember, all of it, 90% of that, all of that 90 goes right back into whoever purchases or uses that coin within that particular entity. And the funnest part too, okay? Social media influencers, people like that. If you have your channel, you keep 90%, we keep 10. It's the exact opposite. That means not only your ad revenue, your other stuff, whatnot. This is about privatizing everything and bringing in all this abundance and wealth that has been stored up for the children in the last days, legally and lawfully. So again, this is the MTO Village in a short, close 10-minute, I guess, spiel. If you have any questions, feel free to hit them up in the comments. We'll address them as I can. Shalom.
Okay, my first question, where do you get off? Oh boy. There's so many of these.
This video is for attorneys and judges only. It's a quick 5-10 minute video, whatever it ends up being.
You better be a judge or you're fucked.
I'm doing this to keep the topic short, sweet, and to the point, okay? So, my journey through the so-called criminal justice system has led me to a few key facts. A friend of mine who took down Backpage, that pedophile trafficking network, he was the attorney who took them apart in federal court. He and I got into this discussion a couple of years ago. He said he had a friend of his that was on one of these sovereign citizens, what he called it, one of those movements. And he said,
Cat, don't stare
really
at his
think he ever got
nipples.
to the end of that. He said, or what that means.
Oh, this doesn't cover as well as I was
Let me go ahead
hoping.
and dispel all rumors for you, okay?
Boxy is not
And I'm doing
helpful
that
in
so that
covering.
there is no further dispute. Once you cannot disprove what I'm about to share with you, then there is no more plausible deniability for you. Now you have been informed, but most importantly, you've been informed that somebody out there actually knows how your cabal's put together. And I am thankful for having been accused of a crime for that very reason. Had I never been, because I am not a criminal, I would have never figured this out. That's how well concealed this is. Let me explain it to you, okay? So when you're an attorney and you go into law school, you learn largely procedure, you learn largely case law. You don't necessarily know how the hot dogs are made or how this country was put together. But when we are taught in public school that we have a constitution and those rights are intact, but when we get to a court, any court, we are not told that it's actually admiralty and not the system that we were promised in school, that's the fraud. Your driver's license is the first fraudulently induced contract, and if you're an attorney, you know goddamn well it's void the second it was fraudulently induced, right?
No, driver's licenses are not fraud. They're not illegal. Not how any of that works.
Right? There's 8 other things that have to be there that weren't there. But again, the big thing is that can you really have a minor...
Jason Proxy says, what? Yes, you do learn the history of our jurisprudence in the first year.
Sign a contract? No. Yet, that's your primary basis for assuming that all minors out here traveling on the highways are just magically under your jurisdiction because...
Just a Peach says, hello, it doesn't look like PayPal is linked. Yeah, I don't know why it did that. It's something I'll have to do later. In the meantime, I guess just use the other link if you want a tip or... gift subs. I don't know. I appreciate the support, but I really don't know why that's not working at the moment. Sorry.
They decided they wanted to go admiralty as well, right? Now, if you don't understand the difference between admiralty and the common law, let me break it down for you, okay? Go read this, do your own research. We have 2 constitutions in force in this country. One for 1789, go look on senate.gov, and it's the longest in force constitution in the country. And the other one is the Constitution for 1871 that established the District of Columbia. Now you take...
God. M. Scheffler says, how much more video evidence is required to commit someone? I feel like this guy is much more delusional than your average sovereign citizen. He needs to be proven to be a direct harm to himself or others. It's very difficult to get people involuntarily committed in this day and age. It's nigh impossible unless they're actively, like, out here trying to stab people. Like, it's basically impossible.
Take those 2 things and you really couple that with the fact that every U.S. citizen belongs to that second latter constitution. And that's the one that when you sign up, you sign away your rights for these benefits and privileges to be a part of that corporate entity, no different than Costco. But your public school system, whose teachers, whose principals, whose everybody, including the state representatives, because every state has a P.O. box at 44 Constitution Avenue in Washington, D.C.
Does he charge people to become members of his group? I'm not sure.
Because every one of your states are actually overlays of our original territories. That's what our Constitution, if you're an American Indian, especially a Mato tribal member.
The tribe he made the fuck up.
What our Constitution covers. That guarantees our God-given rights. Did you hear me say government-given? They're not. They're God-given. And the next...
Okay, if God wants to show up and enforce them, cool beans. Until then, I think the government's gotta do it.
Time I hear a sovereign citizen come out of somebody's mouth, I'll know they're a communist or they're a traitor.
Which one am I? Which one am I? Ultra Undying says, is it just me or does Motto feel like, what is this? The Atruagan clans I don't know what this is. Oh, a fantasy role-playing game, Dungeons and Dragons. Oh, was this their supplement on indigenous people stuff? And was it incredibly based on stereotypes? Ew.
Because you can't be sovereign and be a citizen. All U.S. citizens are property of the corporate entity called the United States, based out of Washington, D.C. Prove me wrong. What else is your birth certificate and your social security number for? Those numbers belong to the IMF. And if you read the Emergency Bankruptcy Act of 1933, you read the actual Constitution for 1789, you read the Constitution to establish D.C. in 1871, guess what? You're going to realize that I'm absolutely correct in these things. But what they don't tell people is that all courts got blended together. Your rules of procedure, that the judge is wearing 2 or 3 different hats depending on what your paperwork is like. And let me break this down to you. If it takes somebody 4 years of their life, loss of time with their offspring, their families, just to figure out how your cabal...
Is this the guy we just saw, but a completely different mood? Yeah, this is the same guy.
...is put together, how you traffic us for money, whether it's in a family law court, whether it's in a frickin' traffic court, or so-called bullshit criminal court, 27 CFR 411.
Hats off. M. Scheffler, what would you like me to wear for the hats off?
Crime is commercial. And unless there's a victim, the only criminals in that court are the bar attorney members who've taken...
2 or 3 different hats? That's not how this works. I know he made a joke, but you can't make me wear 2 or 3 hats for the hats off.
...an oath to that...
Gotta pick a hat.
...foreign entity called the Bar Association, the British Accredited Registry. And I don't care whether or not you actually think that's treason. You need to go read the law on this. You aren't even U.S. citizens anymore.
Yeah, that's untrue. That's not how any of this works.
When you take an oath to a foreign government or a foreign anything.
The Bar Association isn't a part of any foreign government. You just wanted the joke? Okay, I'll give you the points back. It's unspent.
And let me explain one more thing to all you secret society members. You better enjoy your time while you can. You're rubbing elbows with the people that run the secret, you know, the city secretly behind everybody's back. Be proud of that.
Oh, you're good, Harold.
Go ahead, enjoy. Until the time comes where you have to answer for it. Because that's treason. Are the Masons an American organization? No, they're not. That means that if you've taken an oath to that nation, that entity, that secret society, and within there it says under penalty of death, you divulge those secrets, which I can do. I never took the oath. I just happen to be a nerd. I know where to look to find the truth on these.
Great. What do you want me to look up in Black's Law Dictionary?
So at the end of the day, that's who you belong to. Some secret organization.
Treason.
Whether it's the Bar Association, whether it's some lawyers guild, anything. If you're out there predating on your fellow Americans, you're criminals, you're traitors, and one day you're going to be brought to justice. That's a promise. I don't care who you are. One day when we wake up enough people, that's what always happens. And I'm not threatening anybody. I'm a man of peace. I don't have to threaten anybody. I just need to wake people up and educate.
What's with this guy and Marcel being like, I'm a peaceful person, meanwhile they're literally opining about, like, forcefully taking over the world? Very strange. Treason says the offense of attempting by overt acts to overthrow the government of the state to which the offender owes allegiance, or of betraying the state into the hands of a foreign power. Treason consists of 2 elements: adherence to the enemy and rendering him aid and comfort.
Once they see who attorneys are and what they actually do and how they make their money, terrorizing people largely for money. Now, you might have said before, well, I had no idea. Don't play stupid now. The next time you file a family law court action, you kick a father out of the house, and you, Mr.
Boy, don't you hate it when lawyers come into your house and without anyone else's say-so, you get kicked out of the house? Wait, other people have to be around and want that? It's almost like his family didn't want him around? Crazy. Wow. Incredible.
Playing judge.
The lawyer didn't do that, sir. Your family found you to be awful, and I understand why.
Mr. Administrator, You file an actual child support obligation against that man because he happens to be the higher wage earner. You take his babies away so that he's terrorized, he doesn't have them. The only thing he probably actually cares about. Haven't met one of us divorced men that are actually sorry for losing the ex. But they really know
M. Scheffler says, wow, what a very specific
that,
grievance.
don't they? That's why you give them to the least equipped parent, because they're the easiest to take them from. And that's how you guys ultimately traffic 800,000 children a year. Is you do it through these family law courts, pretending like deadbeat dads were a thing that men invented.
Yeah.
Got news for you. 90%, nearly 90% of everybody in prison was raised by a single mother. Congrats. How did...
Okay, and how did that mother become single?
that happen?
Does he think people are raring for the exciting, thrilling life of single parenthood?
Family law court and attorneys.
Oh.
You notice I didn't say women? Okay? Women are just people. They're easily misled. They're easily swayed. And I'll say it too, they're 100% emotional, not logical. And
I like that he starts off trying to kind of not be sexist. Women are just people, but then it goes on to be, of course, they're completely illogical balls of emotion.
they have this capacity to be vindictive against children in a way that men never seem to have, because we're protectors.
What in the world is he talking about? What the fuck?
But that's why
he doesn't consider himself misled. Okay. No, he's a man with balls, okay? With that much testosterone coursing through his veins, he can be nothing but logical.
the people are in prison that are in prison. And here's what it comes down to, law enforcement. That's really what it comes down to. That's who you use, are these ignorant folk who want to go out and actually just do a good job. Their original intent was to protect and serve, but you converted them to de facto meter maids with guns, risking their lives to go out so that you can charge us bullshit statutory lawyers' fees for these idiot offenses that don't exist without an actual victim. If only people knew to go in and ask for the performance bond at no cost, or the actual appearance bond at no cost to them, so that you couldn't impose bullshit charges or anything else. I mean, if only they'd actually read the Bankruptcy Act of 1933 and realized all they have to do is accept the charges for value, return them for value, according to HCR 192 and Public Law 7310, put their personal exemptions, which is the Social Security number without any dashes, and then the number on the back is the private exemption number. I mean, if they were to throw that on 30-weight cardstock, put an international stamp on the front and the back, put their thumbprint on that, on the back, across the stamp, canceling it out along with their signature, that would qualify, would it not, as an international bill of exchange that they could just hand back to you? And that would cancel and settle the debt? Why don't you attorneys tell them that?
Because it's not true. Because all of that's nonsense.
Why don't you tell them? Let me ask you a better question. Why weren't you taught that?
Because it's not true.
Why weren't you taught that a city who ultimately has been incorporated through some state, who ultimately is incorporated through DC, how do they ever get the right to tell you that they owe you, that you owe them taxes on your property? How did they get?
Because they're the government. What are you talking about?
In control of your property. How did you magically buy a house and now you owe money to some foreign corporation?
They're not a foreign corporation.
It's because you're
they're the local government.
Tenant in common. Why? Because you haven't read the Emergency Bankruptcy Act of 1933. So attorneys, what you're going to wake to here very shortly is that we're waking up to the difference between the common law and your statutory bullshit. And because we are starting to educate ourselves, not only to your treason and deception. Now again, whether or not you did that knowingly is a question for a jury, right? They're the finders of fact, as I've been forced to learn. So these jury
You didn't already know that?
members are going to be the ones who are going to decide whether or not you've committed treason. Especially until the chief gets my property back. And until the real criminals are actually convicted and sentenced, whatever that sentence happens to be. then as far as I'm concerned, you're just criminals operating here without my consent. And I have no duty to give you my consent for you to even exist in our territory. That's what I'd like you to provide for me.
Just a Peach with a $3 tip says, my siblings were adopted through the foster care system and are better off because of that. All 4 of them. Yeah, people like this tend to view their children as property and genuinely cannot fathom that their kids are better off without them. Crazy stuff.
First, I haven't been able to find that anywhere where we're required to give our consent for you guys to even exist in our territory. So if we were to collectively get together and just tell you, pack your shit and go back to DC, since you think it's okay to steal our property, steal our kids, traffic us like we're your fucking slaves, why don't you go ahead and go police your shit in that 10-mile square area that you have lawful authority over? Because even though you are operating under plenary authority, when you're operating and you descend down to the level of commerce, guess what? You have no more immunity. That's in First M jurisprudence, if you want to know where that is. Okay, and if you want to read the rest of this, you can find it in the UCC, the Uniform Commercial Code. So since my first so-called bullshit statutory arrest, all those charges have been refuted. Everything's been done on the record, and I've done it with notaries. The one that...
Okay, you can notarize any document you want. It doesn't mean anything.
Somebody got in and scared away, as I later found out. Guy was white as a sheet, told me that he's selling his business. And all he was a notary who was basically saying, yeah, you know, the chief or Marcus or King MTO, he signed this. I go by all 3, depending on which diplomatic, ceremonial, or financial function I'm doing at that point.
Very humble to go by the king.
But that's what...
Nemesaur says, there is no Emergency Bankruptcy Act of 1933. There is an Emergency Banking Act of 1933. He says it that way because sovereign citizens usually believe the United States has gone bankrupt at some point, either in 1933, in the 1870s, or in the year 2000. Sometimes it's all 3 of them. Yeah, it's just a pervasive belief they have. To be clear, the United States has never gone bankrupt. If that happened, we don't even know what would happen. It would not be good, considering, you know, the dollar is the petrodollar. Probably wouldn't be great. But the United States has never gone bankrupt. But who knows? We got a fun 4 years ahead, so we'll see what happens.
I saw in his eyes was fear. Because when you got to him, he was terrified, sold his company, decided he didn't want to be a notary anymore. Okay. Well, luckily, I found some brave people who don't mind being notaries. So we're going to do the paperwork all over again. And I dare you to show up and try to threaten them. Go ahead. They're good friends of mine. There's a good chance that I'm going to be there. Come say hi. I record every interaction, and I'll be happy to play it for our juries when those times come. Because at this point, like I said, you can choose whether you want to be an American and you can be loyal to us, or you can be loyal to your bar association and your foreign cabal. You can't do both.
Cabal! He said it!
That's why we're law-abiding people at the tribe. All we do is educate each other, but there is no mistake about what my name is.
It's really easy to be law-abiding when you just decide every law that you break isn't legal, right? Of course he's law-abiding. He's decided all those laws he broke weren't real laws.
I don't have Marcus tattooed on this chest. This is my name. It's for the living man, okay? So if there's any further questions, feel free to write King MTO at the address that's listed on the UCC filing for the state of Idaho, okay? And I share this message in the spirit of love in which it is offered. Again, I pray all of our attorneys wake up and realize what you're doing here. You're not actually helping we the people. If you wanted to help we the people, you'd be out there educating your fellow men, women, about how to do a private administrative process, or teaching them about the basic functions of procedures so that they can navigate the turbulent waters of your very convoluted court system. But then again, you wouldn't be able to charge $300-400 an hour, would you? So I guess it really comes down to, well, I've spent all this money in college, right? So I'm entitled. Aren't you?
What?
You're entitled to get that back regardless of what it costs and what you have to destroy to do it. I hope you can sleep with that. I know I never could as a man of integrity. That's why I'd never be an attorney for money. Unless it was a righteous cause and somebody wanted to bless me. But I share knowledge freely. My time costs money. My knowledge, never. But I guess we're not the same part of that coin, are we? At the end of the day, thank you again for forcing me to learn this, for forcing me to figure out how to put the tribal paperwork together, get the Constitution done, so that legally, lawfully, and peacefully, we retain our right to just become Americans again and become the actual sovereigns of this land. Not that we've ever lost it. The Constitution of 1789 is still in force. And once we wake up enough tribal members in each county, and you see this logo rolling around on our license plates, you'll know that those are the owners of the county. Stop them. They record everything. I don't know how long you'll get away with it before enough of them actually decide that they're going to charge you criminally, and they find a judge willing to do it. But we'll see. Hopefully, you guys just decide peace like we have. Again, we're not responsible for any loss of life because somebody's poorly trained. We're not violent people. We're not suggesting violence. We're not advocating violence or for government overthrow. We're advocating for being left the hell alone if we want to travel. That's our right.
Isn't it always so interesting how they're like, we're peaceful, but we're also gonna do something incredibly illegal and dangerous, and if you try to stop us, we'll fucking kill you. Like, that's basically what he just said. We're peaceful, but also we're gonna completely, flagrantly disregard all laws that we just personally disagree with, and if you so much as try and stop us for a taillight, we'll fucking murder you, is basically what he just said. And he thinks he's the sane one. He thinks he's the reasonable person in this equation. That's something.
If you think you have some right as a government servant to infringe on that, guess what? You're a terrorist and you're a criminal. Mind your own goddamn business. Unless you see one of us actually harming somebody, or you see one of us doing something that we shouldn't be doing, which is causing a danger to the society or committing a crime, yes, you have authority to stop anybody if they're committing a crime. We'll be the first ones helping you. But at the end of the day, you don't have authority to stop us just because you decided you wanted to stop somebody you wanted to chat with. No, it's not how it works. That's why it says 10 million per stop, 100,000 per minute.
Okay, none of that means anything. They legally have the right to stop you, and they will if you are doing something illegal.
That's what I'm sending an invoice to your agency for. And when they refuse to pay it, after 3 times, guess what? I sell that debt to somebody, and you guys go ahead and pay it. I'll just take the cash from them. That's how debt collection works.
I'm sorry, are you illegally selling debts that you don't actually have the right to claim you are owed to debt collectors? That's hilarious. Sounds like he's effectively telling cops or whoever, you owe me $10,000 or $100,000, and then going to a debt collector to sell that bogus debt?
And you guys, again, are just corporations, as I later found out. It took me a long time to do that, and a lot of lost time with my sons, and you're going to pay for that. Your entire profession in the state of Washington is going to pay for the loss of my children to me. And I'm going to do that by educating everybody until we finally rip away your tax base, until we finally rip away everything from you, until you decide you're going to give my property back. You're going to actually prosecute the real criminals, which are the Bar Association maggots who put me through 2 fake bullshit admiralty trials just to steal my firearms. And until we actually get recognition of the fact that you're servants and that you recognize that fact that, hey, we might have gotten a little out of line here, but yeah, we're well aware of the fact that we work for you. We don't tell you where you may or may not travel. We sure as hell don't come and destroy your stuff without your
Not you personally!
permission or taking
Society!
I think we're going to keep it.
Oh, he's
without
very
paying you for it.
salty.
No, doesn't work that way, Cupcake. I'll never stop. That's a promise. Haven't yet, and I won't, okay? You're going to find that out, too. So, anyway, again, this is a message just for attorneys and just for judges. If anything in here that I've said is illegal and lawful, you go ahead and prove it to me, Cupcake, because I'm not afraid of any of you.
Calling people cupcake as an insult is a choice.
I have the protections of my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and I'm here to do one job in these last days.
He has the power of God and anime on his side.
And that's to lead those with ears to hear and eyes to see to the truth of what the gospel says about you people. It's not to stop what you're doing. It's not my job. I'm not in any fight with any governments.
Kinda seems like you're trying to be. Just a Peach with a $2 tip says, there's a feral cat who visits our back porch when it's cold or hungry. I had ran and fed them. We have 4 indoor cats who are very confused by them, including one who's probably their kid. Oh! Gitara says, I'll accept your challenge, sweetie pie.
I'm in fight with evil, period. And that evil is best fought by bringing people to the truth of the gospel, however I might do that, and wake them up to the truth of whatever secret society they're in, who decidedly at the top, I promise you, is Satan. If it's not from God, people, it's very simple. It's from Satan. It's disguised as something different. But you need to go out and do your research.
What a scary worldview to have. There are no shades of gray. Either something glorifies God or is your enemy in the work of Satan. What a horrific, horrific fundamentalist worldview. Jesus Christ.
You need to understand exactly what you're looking at. And you're not looking at what you think you're looking at. If you don't know what the Social Security number's for, where that's traded with the birth certificate, if you don't understand and haven't read Title 8, Section 1101 Alpha 22, which defines a U.S. citizen, and 22 Bravo, which is an American national, then you're going to continue to be a slave. These bar association traders are going to keep dragging you through these courts because you don't know any better. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. The Bible says that, friends. So please wake to that reality. Please humble yourselves. If you already know all this stuff, then share it with somebody. But let's start helping each other wake to this. And again, remember, this video is for entertainment only. It's not legal advice, tax advice. It's just one old fool's opinion. So God bless and have a super day.
Wow, what a scary guy. Should probably move on to something else at the moment. Because I have other videos by him, but I'll save them for later. Try this.
Mr. Davis.
This is a Moorish citizen in court.
Yes, sir. I can hear you clear.
Okay. We're on the record 21 CCR 221014 and
The
21
kilograms, thanks
CCR
for following.
221009, State of Texas versus Antoine Jermaine Davis Bay. Mr. Bay, this is your motion to reconsider. I've reviewed your motion to reconsider. I've reviewed the response and then your reply to the response as well. I'm going to permit 10 minutes per side for argument, and then I'll make a ruling at that time. So, Mr. Bay, you may proceed with any argument you'd like to make.
Blaming Satan is a good way to say anything he does is not his responsibility. I get the feeling that that guy spends a lot of time making sure people know nothing is his fault.
Okay. So this situation stemmed from an arrest from March 8, 2021, from a lawful arrest without a warrant. Sorry about that.
To be clear of the without a warrant thing, often sovereign citizens believe that you cannot be arrested without a warrant in every situation. So, like, literally, they believe that a cop could see you robbing a bank, but because they don't have a warrant for your arrest already, they can't arrest you. Not how things work.
All right, Davis Bay.
For 49, free. If you want to tap in with the grant sheet, you can go to
in your script. Let's give you.
You can go to .org.
I don't know if this is a new video. This was posted 2 days ago.
Link in the bio, and you can get a copy just for $49.99. You can get a copy of the challenge jurisdiction class.
Yeah, kilograms. I think people like to think it's Satan because it's simpler.
And I got free classes on. Let's talk about it.
So this Moorish citizen sells bullshit classes. He does the guru stuff.
Free classes on. I got free food stamp class. Hey, look.
This is a situation between hypothetical suspicion versus a concrete crime. Whereas in this situation, no concrete crime that took place prior to the unlawful traffic stop. Okay, the state has failed to even
Oh, we're
establish.
halfway through the stream. I have to do my things. Hey, if you like the stream, make sure you follow if you haven't already on Twitch, subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already, hit the like button, helps a lot, and if you want to help support the stream financially, you can always gift subs, use bits, or become a member on YouTube. We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/Hannah Reloaded. There we go. I did all the things. I did the capitalism things.
Probable cause for a warrantless arrest and search, and they
Shibuya
had no
Tomato, thanks for
justifiable
following.
basis exists to continue prosecuting this case. The charges of this case do not meet the requirements of actual concrete criminal activity as defined under Texas law and federal law. For one, the absence of a sworn affidavit of probable cause by the arresting officer further renders this arrest unlawful. An injured party or a complaint with a legally recognized injury.
Hey, Mr. Bay, my court reporter is having a difficult time understanding. If you would face the camera, that way your voice could be heard clearly. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Can you hear me clearly now?
Yes.
Okay.
Just maybe slow down just a hair on your speech. Thank you, sir.
Okay, no problem. Okay, well, I'll just repeat what I said. So this situation happened from an unlawful traffic stop without a warrant or a concrete injury.
When he says concrete crime, does he mean brutalist architecture? I know you're joking, but in reality what he means is there is not a crime with a victim. He is saying this is a victimless crime, basically.
From an injured party prior to the traffic stop. I want to make a note also.
Also Done Dying with 40 bits says, hey Hannah, I was thinking as a gift to you, get my British friend to make a sub, like, etc. video you could lay instead of doing it yourself. He's British, so sounds very smart. Maybe, I don't know. I like doing it myself because it's me. I don't know.
The traffic stop and the other offense of possession of marijuana was dismissed back in 2021, approximately around the time when the case was first initiated. I did upload and file on the record evidence of that.
I will say though, if you get it made, I will use it.
That notice of rejection as an exhibit. Also, I want to point out the fact that this is a case of hypothetical suspicion versus a concrete crime. Okay, the mere act of a traffic stop does not constitute probable cause for broader detention or search as recognized by Terry versus Ohio. Okay, hypothetical suspicion does not equate to criminal behavior.
Hypothetical suspicion? Is he just trying to, I assume he's trying to convert whatever the cop had in terms of their probable cause and trying to say, that's not probable cause, that's suspicion. I'm assuming that's his thought.
And Texas arrest was searched without evidence of a crime of probable cause, contravenes Texas Code Criminal Procedure Article 14.01, Section B, which requires that an offense be committed in an officer's presence or viewed to justify a warrantless arrest. The officer, Jazz Roberts, who was the arresting officer at that time, he did not have any probable cause or reasonable suspicion to even initiate the stop. And then once the stop
nice, Harold Elderman, good luck.
Was initiated, he didn't have any authority to continue with a search or an arrest, especially not just based off of mere traffic citation. Like I noted, that traffic citation was dismissed, okay, indicating that they didn't have any probable cause to prosecute a traffic citation against me. And also the adjoining case that was with it was a possession of marijuana, which was dismissed prior to even we having these hearings. Okay, continue on. Failure to uphold due process requirements. Okay, due process.
Anyone else zone out? Me.
Sufficient factual grounds for
a lot of word salad, which is weird because normally the sovereign citizen talking is the most interesting part, but my God, he's so monotone.
Wong's son is W-O-N-G.
Did you request it? Who did you request it from?
The Rosenberg Police Department.
Okay. Please send me, I will do my best, but please send me an email immediately following this hearing so that I can provide you a PDF of that document so that we're not going through our portal.
Okay, no problem.
Now, in response to some of these statements or allegations made by defense, again, as I just made clear, the defense has had access to the discovery since at the very least October 19th, 2024. I can't speak to whether the previous prosecutor had shared any of the discovery. I know he was admonished, I believe, on the same date that the docket control order was signed. So we haven't been able to go through actual defense counsel for this, Judge. Again, I will send over in an alternative format the PC affidavit and the offense report so that the defense has access to a complete set of information. On the last setting, I believe it was November 7th, defense
support his allegation with his brief or anything.
The case law in support of that was in the response to your motion, defense.
Yeah, it was, Mr. Bay.
Can you please
Case law makes it clear the odor of marijuana can justify a warrantless search of a vehicle under the automobile exception of the Fourth Amendment. And he goes on to cite Stringer v. State, Rocha v. State, Isaac v. State, and then he even cites additional case law, Cameron v. State. So it's cited in there, overruled. Continue.
Based upon the odor of marijuana, a probable cause search was conducted on the vehicle. Again, this is as alleged by the state. At which point in time,
nah, he's chill, but like he is a grifter. He sells people a program to teach them this crap. So like he might be chill, but he is also a grifter. So
during the course of this trial,
like I answered the question. I said yes, I would take standby counsel, represent myself.
You're going to take, so you still want to waive your right to a court-appointed counsel and continue to try this case yourself, but you're willing to accept standby counsel to provide legal advice only during the course of the trial. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
That's funny. He realized he fucked up, I guess. All right, moving on. He was very dry. Let's see what else we've got. Look, it's Russell -J Gould : Ooh. I feel those beats. Ooh, triangle.
Corporation case R period tilde 385 tilde 460 tilde 312 U period S period. This brief video is a closure on the situation that everything is fine. The fact that there is no president, there is no Congress, everything is going fine for the postmasters and the claimants in the quantum banking system. I am complying with timelines from my filings at the U.S. Supreme Court on October 7th, 2024, giving the necessary closure to the citizens of the world, to the claimants and postmasters and sovereigns within the quantum banking system, that everything's going to be fine for the next 4 years. There just is no president, there is no Congress. Everything is just going to keep moving forward in your divine spaces as you set up your paradigms.
I wish I could live in the delusional world where we didn't have a president. Oh, that's Pink Floyd.
The
Okay.
date is January.
A really
17th.
terrible, like, dubstep remix of Brick in the Wall. Oh, God.
2025. Earth Space Banking. And the volition behind this publication is to give closure on a filing that I made on October 7th, 2024 at the U.S. Supreme Court. As many of you know, the United States government ceased to exist in 1999. And the United States court was...
Has there ever been a case where someone represents themselves in one, but not a sovereign citizen BS? I would imagine statistically someone must have won a case at some point. It's not common, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Vacated the
Closer to a house remix? Sorry, I don't know music things. I'm a movie gal.
position for judgments and moving bills of the latings on the first Monday of October 2004. Incorporation case R period till the 708 till the 684 till the 472 : U period S period. Pocket - judgment and Pignus - judgment. In the filings since the year 2000, the guidelines to elect a leader called a president for the United States and the United States of America ceased to exist in 1999 for the United States, Inc., the United States of America came out of a third and final bankruptcy.
Oh, yeah, he thinks there's been 3 bankruptcies.
Upon falling out of the bankruptcy, the states...
I'm gonna have to cut out this segment for the brick in the wall thing, aren't I?
And the citizens of the former United States of America and the citizens of the former United States, Inc.
You've heard of at least one Sobsit who had his case dismissed on completely unrelated grounds to his claims. I had read that. You might have even been the one who sent me. There was an article about it.
Failed to have a new continental convention, constitutional convention, to set up guidelines to elect a president. And in the year 2012, I disqualified and alerted all 50 states of the breach and violation of there not being a guideline to elect a president, which means the electoral college votes were null and void, the position from the states to have a populist vote, that ended as well. And in 2012, I published with the Federal Elections Commission and I got a confession from them that...
Well, Miscellaneous, it's more... I don't want to get into a whole thing about Pink Floyd's The Wall right now. Sometimes it can seem pretentious, but you gotta understand that it's not just talking about, like, education is bad, it's talking about the very specific, like, English educational system of a specific period. But I get what you're saying. It's more than what you are picturing, I promise. It's not just books bad. It's about conformity bad. But I get how you would get that impression.
There are no presidents. Because of the failures of the federal government and the citizens who have failed since 1999 to come together and with correct grammar articulate how to elect a president, a vice president, a Congress.
Do you think you elect the vice president separately? I think that's enough of him. That music is annoying me. Weirdly, I'm feeling drawn to the motto stuff today. Do we need more Chief Motto?
Today I'm going to talk to you about the difference between a U.S. citizen and an American national, or a Native American national, okay? To be part of the Motto tribe, you have to change your citizenship status back to
It
American
is indeed kitten purrs. I have a Triceratops one, too.
national. We do not accept U.S. citizens as full members of the tribe. Why? Because every Motto tribal member has to be educated. They have to be able to defend themselves, stand on their square, and be able to defend their families against oppression or other things that would come against them. The only way to do that is to learn the law. You have to be able to learn how to draft your own paperwork. You have to know which court to go into. You have to know the nature and the cause.
Thank you, kitten purrs.
Of what you're looking at. And as a U.S. citizen, you're never taught those things in school. That's a fact. Why is that? Because it's public school.
Sir, have you considered that you just have a lot of incorrect information?
And it's funded with the exact same dollars that are made from giving people all these citations, pulling people out of their vehicles, whatever reason these guys have to come up with. At some point, you're going to have to wake up and realize, okay? You have a lot of highly uneducated officers out there. If you look at my page that I post stuff on, especially the Facebook page for the tribe, I put all kinds of videos on there from all these
Bumble Homestead, thanks for gifting a sub to Kitten Purrs.
awful stops, who you guys call the auditors. Let me tell you something. If you're too much of a sissy to stand up for your rights, and I'm not suggesting anybody fight the police. It's not what I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting you grow a goddamn spine and stop being such wimps. Stop being such cowards and pussies that you let everybody in the world walk all over you.
Yeah, go to court and get your kids and guns taken away like Chief Motto, the badass.
Many of my soldiers died to give us those rights. And if you're too much of a wimp...
Many of your soldiers? Wow, it sounds like you're a terrible CO. It sounds like you got a lot of people killed.
To actually defend them, if you're too afraid of going to jail, princess, then you don't belong in this...
He really likes to throw out, the insults that are like, princess, sissy. You think he maybe has a problem with a little bit of too much focus on his masculinity? I think he maybe is... I think he's maybe got a complex, is all I'm saying.
This tribe. This tribe's for men. It's for strong women.
This tribe's for men!
And
strong women.
For people who actually love our kids and our families. And we're sick and tired of being trafficked like we're nothing but just pieces of property, like the book of Revelation says.
I would count this as boomer shit.
That's why we are not anti-government. That's why we give 50% discounts to all of our U.S. citizens at all of our MTO villages. Because we appreciate all of you. However, until officers are properly trained to understand the difference between a U.S. citizen and an American national, that's exactly what the MTO plate is for. It says it right on it. Non-U.S. citizen, 10 million per stop, 100,000 per minute.
Again, that's not binding. You made a fraudulent plate. That's not how this works. You can't just put that on the back of your car and expect people to accept that that's the terms. Just a peach with a $2 tip says, so PTSD that's not being treated, that makes so much sense. It's possible. I don't know if by his soldiers he actually meant he's a veteran. I think he's mentioned that before, though.
Guess what? When you violate one of my tribal members' rights, you're going to deal with me in court. And I'm not afraid of any attorney or any judge. I'll bitch slap every one of you with the Constitution. Watch me.
He's gonna bitch slap you. He's very serious.
That's enough for today on this topic. That's the difference between a U.S. citizen and an American Indian national. And by the way, everybody who was born in the United States, think people, by definition, you are a Native American.
There it is. There it is. That's not what that means. That's not what that means at all.
That's why I've opened the tribe up to everybody who's a law-abiding person, man or woman. Not person, not corporate entities. It's open to anybody with a birth certificate from any territory or any state within the United States or any of the places that we perceive to be controlled by or that we own. Why? Because we are the ones that apparently own them, correct? Isn't that what we were taught growing up? So until somebody proves to me
not
differently,
you
I don't see any reason why
individually.
somebody from...
How does he not understand this? Does he believe that the things he believes are the majority opinion? Like, the reason that the world doesn't work the way you wish it did is because most people disagree with you on how society should be structured. That's it. The end. They're not accountable only to you. They're accountable, in theory, to everyone in society.
The Marianas Islands, Guam, Virgin Islands, any of those places couldn't also be MTO tribal members. We are we the people. All U.S. citizens are government servants. Or traditional Native American tribes of today. They're all U.S. citizens. This is the only tribe of American Indian nationals, people. We're the only ones whose rights are actually intact. How do you feel about that, my fellow natives? My fellow African Americans? American Indian nationals, people. We're the only ones whose rights are actually intact. How do you feel about that, my fellow natives? My fellow African Americans? Both of my cultures are highly predated upon. They don't even have statistics for women that go missing on reservations. Why is that? Probably because they're the easiest to forget, like all those Haitian kids that the Clintons went down and helped. What do you think is going on around us, people? You have to wake up and understand you're in the end times. You're watching a biblical event. You need to get your hearts right with Christ. You're going to have a rude awakening, just like everybody that was partying and marrying up until the floodwaters started. I think that's the same thing we're going to see happen again. So I promise to keep this under 5 minutes, my friends. That's the difference between a U.S. citizen and an American Indian national. Go read Title 8, Section 1101A Alpha. 22 defines a U.S. citizen. 22B defines a national. Have a blessed day.
Well, that was terrible. All right, I have to go pee real quick. Don't go anywhere. Chat, you behave. While I'm gone, Cher will tell you about the American Genre Film Archives Bloodorama triple feature, featuring Help Me, I'm Possessed, Night of the Strangler, and Carnival of Blood. I'll be right back. I'm gonna use the potty. Don't go anywhere. Talk amongst yourselves. Maybe gift subs. We're almost to 300. And think about better times 4 years from now. We'll be good. This is fine. This is fine. Back. Oh, tea time tea. Thank you so much for gifting 5 tier 1 subs. Much appreciated. All right. We're back with Chief Motto. This one is entitled Child Support, Feminists, and Other Topics from Chief Motto for Men. So I'm assuming this one's going to be particularly offensive. Just a warning if anyone's concerned about that.
I'm no longer on social media, at least not the ones that you follow. However, I did want to take a moment and speak to you about the topic of child support. Let me explain how it's actually constructed and what it's actually all about.
The shades, of course. He's like the platonic ideal of like straight white dude dating profiles with the fucking glasses. All he needs is a fish.
Okay?
Oh, sorry, I missed a tip. Just a Peach with a $1 tip says he probably was told he had 1/16 of everything. You should get one of those 23andMe tests or something. I'm almost wondering if that was the origin of this, if he got a 23andMe and it said he had, like 2% sub-Saharan Africa or 1% indigenous Americas. And he was like, I'll appropriate those now. Rayline says it gives a slightly worse vibe as those annoying people who put "we're all humans" on the demographic questionnaires. I always just put them down as white.
What it is a banking transaction disguised as a court standing in as fiduciary over your children. How did they get there? They got there because you got a birth certificate from some state. And if you have a birth certificate from some state and you have not returned to claim that minor estate, both you and your offspring are considered nothing more than sub-corporate entities of the corporation known as whatever state you were hatched in.
Yeah, that's incorrect. None of that is true. You're literally just a resident of the state. They're not claiming ownership of you. That's not how any of this works.
What do you mean? There are no states.
There are states.
Territories.
No, there are states. We have 50 U.S. states.
Under the Constitution of 1789.
Okay, well, we're under the Constitution of 2025, because that's the year we're in. It's still based on that original Constitution. There've just been extra amendments since then. It's the same document. They just added more stuff at the end.
But these guys are operating under the Constitution of 1871 to establish the District of Columbia.
No.
And every U.S. citizen must also abide by that. How did you become a U.S. citizen? You became one when you got a birth certificate and a social security number.
No, you became a U.S. citizen when you were born on United States soil or to a United States citizen as either parent. Birthright citizenship. Regardless of any executive orders that may exist, still in the Constitution.
Before that, you were an American Indian by their definition. I thought previously It was American.
Incorrect.
National or state national. No. Apparently now those are considered terrorists or anti-government, whoever. The Mato tribe of Indians are not anti-government.
I see. Okay, so he's not going by state national. He's appropriating the indigenous thing because he thinks if he goes by state national, he'll be considered a terrorist. But he thinks if he calls himself indigenous, he won't be considered a terrorist.
We are very much pro-government. That's why we give 50% discounts at all of our villages to all U.S. citizen taxpayers. We appreciate you. You do good work. You make sure that our government agencies operate flawlessly. That's why we want to honor you with that discount. As for us, we are American Indians. And
no,
by
you're
their
not.
definition, that means anybody, regardless of color, that was born in the United States or any of the territories controlled by the United States of America.
No, again, that is not what the legal definition of an indigenous person is.
Correct me if I'm wrong. That's my interpretation of that statute.
Okay, you're wrong. Your interpretation is very bad. You're wrong. Glad I could correct that for you.
But when you get to the whole Title 4D Section 666 of the U.S. Agricultural Program, you are considered nothing more than a minor because you have not yet come back and claimed your minor estate. What do I mean by that? That means all of the bonds and everything else that have been hypothecated on various stock markets who are Hague participating countries. They're part of the Hague abduction and adoption of, I believe, 1964, maybe 1967. Go look it up. You have to educate yourselves. If you want to call me a conspiracy theorist, but all you do is sit back and do your couch potato routine, you're out here on your sports, things, you're out.
Sir, you're literally positing that every single person in the United States is indigenous, thus making the designation of indigenous pointless, and you're acting as though other people are out of their mind or lazy? Come on now. That's not fair.
You're on your porno websites, you're doing pretty much...
Your porno websites? I know what you people do on the internet. You're sick!
Anything other than educating yourselves. You deserve to be a slave. You really do. But I'm telling you, there's a pot of gold at the end of this rainbow. It's just up to you whether or not you want to get off your fat ass and start to educate yourself. I have no pity for people who will not stand up and educate themselves. Very few men impress me. That's because very few men that I meet actually educate themselves. That's why, since I was a child, all of my friends have been a good 20 years older than me.
What?
Few men that I meet actually educate themselves. That's why, since I was a child, all of my friends have been a good 20 years older than me.
I think that stands on its own. I'm pausing for effect, but I don't have anything to say. I think that stands on its own. We'll let that marinate for another 10 seconds or so. Alright, I think that's soaked in.
Because I cannot deal with people who will not think, who do not have knowledge, who I cannot learn from. That's a
Just a Peach with a tip says, is he talking about laws to help people adopt kids from other countries? He has this so wrong. Oh yeah, they pull from all sorts of random stuff. M. Scheffler says, that's odd. Very.
With me. But when it comes to your freedom, if you're not willing to sit up and actually educate yourself enough to understand the difference between an American Indian and a U.S. citizen, then again, you deserve to remain a U.S. citizen who has exchanged their God-given Native American rights for benefits and privileges. No different than if Costco had set up a store out there in Washington, D.C. And their membership, if you went in and you signed up and you decided you wanted to have their benefits and privileges, you have to have their card, correct? The government is no different. It's just that in 1933, that's when they all went bankrupt. And
nope, didn't happen.
Unless you know your rights and you understand and have read that.
What will he do when no one is 20 years older than him? Start making friends with children and the cycle will begin anew. It's the circle of life, and it grooms us all.
Act, unless you've read the Trading with the Enemy Act, unless you've read Title 12 of the IRS Code and a bunch of other sections, you're going to be wholly ignorant of what the hell I'm talking about. But again, your couch potato self might just say, oh, you know what, he's a conspiracy theorist, right? Why? Because you were raised in public school. And in public school, they do not teach you these things. Why? Because it's
not true?
Intentional.
Oh. Chitara says, all of his friends were a good 20 years older than him while growing up. He's fallen into the sob-sit borderline tinfoil. I can't help but think.
It's really him. It's really him. You're a victim. There we go, CSI.
Yeah, no kidding. Ugh. Where'd this go?
It's handed down from the federal bureaucracy. And when you get into the weeds on this and you finally realize why Washington, D.C. is one of only 3 city-states on the planet, the Vatican and London being the others.
What? Okay, the Vatican is a city-state. D.C. is not a city-state. It's a district. London is not a city-state to my knowledge, but I don't know the vagaries of UK law, so I don't know. But, D.C. is not.
And who actually owns all of those?
Vatican is the only city-state left in the world? Okay, I kind of thought so, but I didn't want to say for sure. And yeah, London's the capital, but I wasn't sure if because of the royalty, if it was also considered a city-state, so he's just full of total shit. Good to know.
Why you get down to that age-old question, why does the Pope wear a yarmulke?
All tiny religious hats are yarmulkes. True story.
Then you start to understand in Genesis the seed of the serpent.
I'm thinking that came out. That was something, wasn't it? Huh.
The seed of the woman.
Monaco, Singapore, and San Marino are also city-states? Ooh, good to know.
You start to put that together with those who call themselves Jews but are actually the synagogue of Satan.
There it is. There it is. There it is. Okay, so he's like a full-on raging anti-Semite, the kind that's like, I'm not anti-Semitic. The people I hate aren't really Jewish. So, like, that's hyper anti-Semitic to the point where you're literally like, ah, yes. Basically, if you aren't familiar with this, not everyone's familiar with this, there are a kind of conspiracy theorist who are so anti-Semitic and so anti-Jewish that they literally strip away Jewish identity from Jewish people. And they're like, I hate them, but they're not even really Jewish, basically, is what he's saying. It's real bad. It's real bad. It's real bad. It's a way that certain anti-Semitic evangelicals try to cope with the fact that, you know, the Jews are God's chosen people, while also being virally anti-Semitic. They go, well, they're not really Jewish, basically, to justify their anti-Semitism. It's real bad!
You have to understand that this world belongs to the Antichrist and his minions. All those demons that, you know, Christ cast into that swine that jumped into that lake, they didn't die.
Oh shit, Big Dick Energy with a $50 tip says, thank you for all the laughs, Hannah. Well, thank you very much for that very generous tip. I appreciate you.
The pig died. The demons are still there.
We're now a quarter of the way to our puppet stream.
Is set up. It's coming. But until then, this land belongs to them. So what would you expect to see? You would expect to see them pacifying you by means of what a good friend of mine quoted, you go ahead and entertain the masses and they will never revolt. I'm certainly not suggesting revolution. What I'm suggesting is education. Once you understand the difference between these things and you understand that when you walk into a court, you're looking at a banking transaction. Why
you're not?
Why do women get kids 99% of the time in all divorces?
Fun fact, it's actually because men don't want custody most of the time. When you remove the cases where men don't ask for custody and don't want it, men actually get the kid more often. True story. You can look into this. When there is a contested thing, fathers get the kids more often. Women get them more often, though, because it's less often that men even want custody of their kids. So whenever you hear these people complain about that shit, they're full of shit. It's because men want their kids less often. When they actually contest it, they're more likely to get them.
It's because they make no money compared to most men. Think for a minute. Put your emotions aside and think. If this is a banking transaction, what is actually happening? They have bonds that they are trading. These are contractors, literally. Their corporate entity called the State of Whatever has a P.O. box at 44 Constitution Avenue in Washington, D.C. These are corporations no different than Chuck E. Cheese, Amazon. They just happen to be contractors who are hired to come in and provide our 19 essential government services that our
No, they're not a private company.
Constitution of 1789 guarantees all natural rights would be protected by. And you've exchanged those for benefits and privileges unbeknownst to you. And what they're doing is they are creating another debt. What do you mean by that? A child support obligation, the interest on that is what the actual quote-unquote obligation is. That's why it's essential they find out what you make. That's the amount of the bond hypothecated times 10. If you look at the actual QSIP number attached to that and all of the financial data that you can find on sec.gov, you'll find that that thing's been hypothecated.
Just a beat says, this hell is trying to take away our bread and circuses, so how long until revolt?
Hypothecated so much, it's been on fire. You're not going to believe.
I miss the circus. Do, 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 do. When I was a kid, I rode on an elephant at the circus. Not cool for that elephant.
The numbers. One of them went from $200,000 mortgage to all of a sudden it's worth $83 billion in that account. How does that happen? Because it's based on the full faith and credit of the United States Corporation, Inc., based out of D.C. It is not the United States of America, which is a collection of 50 territories. And then some other, places that we happen to own. Purportedly. So that being said, what does this come down to? When you're walking in there, your children are being taken and used in commerce. That's what it's about. That's why they target the weakest parent. Just like Eve with the whatever the fruit was that she was, tempted to eat. It's because men are logical and we won't sell our children. We are not.
He's very logical. That's how he got into all this absolute conspiracy bullshit. Logic. Nemesaur, thank you so much for gifting 10 tier 1 subs. So close to 300 subs. We're 5 away. Thank you, Nemesaur. Appreciate you and all your support.
Not built the same as women. We protect women and children. It's an instinctive thing with us.
Protect them from who? Protect them from who? Protect them from who? Men.
Women have the ability to take a screaming child callously away from a father standing there crying, wanting nothing more to hug them, while yelling, "Get your child support payment out." How many videos are out there about that?
Hey man, I'm not saying you're not going to be sad, but that doesn't mean you're a good parent. It doesn't matter. You might cry and also be a shitty parent. Dark Colossus 66, thanks for following. Benekagami with 40 bits says, as a case study, when my parents got divorced, my dad tried for primary custody of me and my brothers, but he tried and argued that my mom should watch us most of the time because he's the one who works. He vied for custody was, despite my mom, the result was joint custody with my mom as primary. Thankfully, my dad is a better person now, but he was an asshole when I was younger. Yikes. Jay's a Proxy, thanks for 9 months, says, what's my baby's name? This baby is going to be, Broomhilda Shast. Broomhilda Shast. Do we know what he was prosecuted for? I know he had his... What was he prosecuted for? I know there was a divorce and he had his kids taken away. And then he did some sort of felony where... he got his guns taken away. What was the felony? Does anyone remember?
I want to see that show up. Because it's time for men to stand up and stop being pussies. Stop speaking like these little beta male bitches that you start
beta male
listening to on all
we did it.
Of these ads. Shut off your social media.
Who gets custody if the chatter unsubscribes? They do. I don't want custody of any of these kids.
Media.
You can take my genetic material, but that's all you're getting out of me.
Start speaking to each other again. Have you talked to any of these younger generations?
Just a Peach says, we think domestic violence because of the loss of guns. Could be. That would make sense.
Today.
Because it's Washington, right? And that's how it is in Washington, is if you're found guilty of domestic violence, they take your guns.
If you speak to them in a soft, little, caring...
Oh, and we're almost on a hype train.
...tone, half of them think you're crazy. They no longer have the ability to actually communicate in person, people. Why? Because they were raised in public school. The people who are in control do not send their children to public school. That should tell you everything you need to know, right?
Does he think that in private schools they're teaching all this secret sob-sit stuff? Because they're not. They're just like teaching math and shit. M. Scheffler with 100 bits kicks off the hype train. Thank you very much. If you want to help this hype train, subs, gift subs, and bits all help.
Right there.
6% to level 4 already.
They're raising you and indoctrinating you to be good, compliant little U.S. citizens. It starts with your birth certificate, unbeknownst to you, but in public school, what is your first coerced transaction that you weren't given full disclosure about? Hey, Mr. Minor 14-year-old person, male or female, would you like to trade your rights, God-given right to travel for these benefits and privileges and get a driver's license? Now, nobody told you that if you were actually an American Indian, you don't need anybody's permission to travel.
Incorrect. Like, I don't know how it works. I think they have purview under their own, like, laws on their property, like on reservations and like tribal property. But as far as going out into, like, the United States at large and driving on public roadways, you are still required to have a driver's license, have your car registered somewhere, you know, stuff like that. Legendary Super Lesbian, thanks for gifting a sub to the SCP Foundation. And Bittergrin, thanks for 100 bits, 32% to level 4. I'm not sure how the registration works with the vehicles. It's possible they might be able to have them if you're an actual indigenous person. There might be some sort of thing where you can have them registered through the tribe or in the reservation. I don't know about that, so don't take my word on that. But in terms of the license, you're going to need a license if you're driving on public roads, period. Steve with a Q, thanks for gifting a sub. Thank you very much. 53% to level 4.
That's a God-given natural right. It's an unalienable, or they use the common terminology is inalienable.
Because that's what the word is, inalienable, as in they cannot be alienated from you. They cannot be taken from you. That's what that word means. It does not mean unalienable, as in you cannot be leaned, which some sovereign citizens seem to think.
But read it very carefully. Unalienable.
Okay, yeah, he literally believes that. Yeah, that's not true. It's unalienable. The word is unalienable. It is not unalienable. It is unalienable.
Means you cannot place a lien on it commercially.
Incorrect. Nope, that's not what that means. That's not what that means at all.
You have to understand that there are more than two languages in the United States.
There are a lot more than 2 languages in the United States. We don't have a national language.
Other than English and Spanish, there is legalese.
That's not an official language. That's just jargon of the legal profession.
Legalese is a patented language, and only attorneys speak it.
It's a what do you think? You patent a language? No.
If you are reading out of Black's Law Dictionary, think of the definition of black from the common definition under the common law. First, it meant without color.
Black's Law Dictionary is named after a person with the last name Black. Thus, the possessive, it's Black's Law Dictionary, like Webster's Dictionary. It's named after the person who started it. It's not like black as in the color, it's the name of the person. It's got a possessive apostrophe. You see the possessive apostrophe? I just don't know what to do. Minute left on the hype train.
And then it came to mean dead. So when you fill out your Form 181, and on there check American Indian, yes, if you were born here in this country according to their terminology, then you're an American Indian. That means you...
No, you're not. Harold Ebbleman, what do you want me to look up in Black's Law Dictionary?
Be part of the Mato tribe.
Stone Corbell, thanks for gifting a sub. 75% to level 4.
Tell me where I'm wrong. That's how...
It's just paying so I can look up whatever dumb shit he says. Okay.
Commerce works. You give them notice, you give them opportunity to respond and correct any errors that I might have perceived. Please do so. Am I misreading something?
Yes.
Please, go ahead and re-articulate it for me in some discernible fashion that my common law...
Legendary Super Lesbian, thanks for gifting a sub. 97% to level 4. It was so close to saving the train. Just 3% off. Thank you, everyone, for the gift subs. I much appreciate it. We did get to 300 out of 400, though. We're only 100 away for the month, so that's pretty good. Thank you, everyone.
I can understand, because I do not live by your statutes as Christ dictated in the scriptures.
I'll look up statutes.
I live by God's law, not man's. That's my choice. And it's also my choice.
Hey, remember when Jesus said to render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's? And to, like, you know, follow earthly laws? I remember that. Just a Peach with a $5 super chat says, I went to public school near where he was charged. The government employees sent their kids to public school. They use local DMV because the reservation is so small.
According to the
Thanks for letting me know.
Judicial Act and Expatriation Act of 1867 to go ahead and renounce any U.S. citizenship anytime I want.
What was it? It was statute?
While reaffirming my American heritage. I'm still an American. I am not revoking my nationality. Just that citizenship thing. You go ahead and keep your benefits and privileges. I'll go ahead and have my rights. Shove the rest.
Okay, but you can't have one without the other. If you want the rights of a citizen, you also need to, you know, recognize the responsibilities under the law. But whatever. Statute. An act of the legislature declaring, commanding, or prohibiting something, or particular law enacted and established by the will of the legislative department of the government, the written will of the legislature, solemnly expressed according to the forms necessary to constitute it in law of the state. Such may be public or private, declaratory, mandatory, directory, or enabling in nature. For mandatory and directory statutes, see directory and mandatory statutes. Then it goes on for another page and a half. Can you renounce your U.S. citizenship in the U.S. without becoming a citizen of another country? I mean IRL, not in sovereign citizen land. I don't believe so. It costs a certain amount of money, and I believe you need to already have citizenship somewhere else. And you need to fuck off post-haste. Like, I'm pretty sure the government, once you do that, is like, all right, you can't come back, though, motherfucker.
Rest of them up your ass. Now that I understand exactly how your system's put together, that's why the Mato tribe of Indians was formed. If you want to be free, you can join. If you want to be in the villages, they are private. That means when you see us rolling on the highway with the Mato tribal logo, you'll understand it's a private, not for hire.
Does he understand he basically is creating a gang? Like, you could argue philosophically that on some level the beginnings of any nation or government are basically the beginnings of a gang. But does he know he's basically just talking about starting a gang? He even's talking about, like, rolling down the street with their logo. Like, he might as well get, you know, biker jackets. Yeah.
We are using the roadways and everything else for private travel. We are not engaged in commerce with any outside organizations other than the fact that we give all U.S. citizens 50% discounts on all of our locally grown, year-round, indoor, fresh fruits and vegetables. Because we are about feeding people and educating people. That's why each village has its own tribal council. They are responsible for the orphanage. They are responsible for enforcing the no adult found alone with any child that is not theirs at any time on any MTO Village property.
Wait, what?
For the orphanage. They are responsible for enforcing the no adult found alone with any child that is not theirs at any time on any MTO Village property.
No child is ever allowed to be with any adult except for their parents alone? You think that might be overkill? Yeah, fucking babysitters, other family members? Like, what in the world?
Period. It's going to be the safest place for any child anywhere. And children are to be secured when they're sleeping so that they may not be assaulted by any other older children.
What do you mean secured while they're sleeping?
They are going to be safe. That's why we have our own educational system, so that we can start to teach our children.
That very much feels like we're gonna lock our children into a room or strap them to a bed. Ugh.
Children about the U.S. Commercial Code. Teach them about the correct history. And we absolutely, because we are private, we will have a biblical basis for all of our teachings. If you happen to have a...
Yeah, is he aware that, like, a majority... I know this is a dark subject, but just to bring it up, in terms of, like, abuse that happens, if we're talking about sexual abuse of children, parents are, like, the most common perpetrators. Like, or other family members, like an uncle or aunt or something. Like, kids get molested by their parents. Like, does this guy not know that? What the fuck?
Peaceful Muslim school you would like to start in some Muslim land, and they don't have anything else that infringes or conflicts with the MTO Constitution, by all means, please do. We are about bringing peace everywhere that we go. We are not about causing strife, conflict, or anything else. We'll leave that to the nut jobs. We are not nut job conspiracy theorists. We are not anti-government.
They're not nut jobs. They just want no one to be around their children, and they're going to lock their children up at night because they're afraid everyone's going to molest their children. Benekagami says, "Sir, you and other sovereign citizens are libertarians. Children are the least safe with your kind of person out of pretty much all types in the world."
We are absolutely pro-government. We have an actually incredibly efficient government. Given the amount of paperwork that our government employees actually have to take care of, you really need to go ahead and take your hat off to them, especially the really good ones. And when you treat them kindly, guess what? They are your best friends. They never get accolades or praise from the public. It's usually just jerks yelling at them as though it's their fault. You have to understand, in every department in the government, you're only given certain information and that's it. That's why law enforcement officers are hired, because they will take orders and not ask questions. That is not a slam on law enforcement. It is a statistical fact. My brother happened to be a law enforcement officer. I count many of my very good friends as law enforcement officers. We at the MTO tribe of Indians are the champions of law enforcement, not these foreign corporate agents based out of England. You need to look into who actually owns the United States, Inc. That corporation that was put in charge of our government back under Lincoln.
Not true.
When he suspended the writ habeas corpus, that was just one of his first acts. But when he put the army in charge of the Republic, from that point forward, all it took was 1871 to roll around, and boom, now you have the District of Columbia in charge of everything, and here's their constitution. They have their own president. They have their own vice president, just like every other corporation.
Or like the country. The country, because it's the country.
But they also happen to have a Congress. But they're operating under the legislative branch. Why is this not a violation of the separation of powers doctrine that's inherent in the Constitution?
Because the legislation is a separate branch of the government from the executive and the judiciary. That's the separation of powers, is that they're a separate branch of the government.
Because you don't know what the hell a 14th Amendment citizen is. You haven't read it. You haven't read in there where it says, if you were born in the United States or subject to the jurisdiction thereof. You think the 13th Amendment abolished slavery? Read it.
It abolishes slavery unless you're convicted of a crime.
Except for in cases of conviction. That's why you still had chain gangs. That's why they exploded after that. They just figured out a different way to enslave you. It was through these corporations. When you have 90% of the population in prison that are in there for victimless crimes, you should probably be able to put...
Benekagami says, every Sovcid is such a coward when it comes to cops. They spend so much time shit-talking cops in their rhetoric, but they always go, now I have all the respect in the world for the police.
2 and 2 together. Especially when you consider the fact that these are all private corporations.
Almost accidentally hitting truth there, yeah.
Say that again.
He's unfortunately basically appropriating something for himself again. The issues with the 14th Amendment and, like, imprisoned slave labor.
Private foreign corporations. The IRS is a foreign corporation.
Nope, they're not.
Who all U.S. citizens have to follow their rules. They are not the same as the Internal Revenue Service, based in Ogden. You don't know geography. There's so many things that you do not understand. If this does not compel you to stand up and listen, then pull your bottom lip over your head and swallow, and make sure you do not contaminate the rest of society by breeding. We need to actually increase our breeding as well as our intelligence, and people who are not intelligent enough to actually put 2 and 2
We just said we need to increase our breeding.
Together and smell, the crap. Guess what? You're exactly who took the jab. You're exactly who will never listen to anybody like me. I'm just a conspiracy theorist, right? You can't
Yes, I love when conspiracy theorists do this. They say the most insane conspiracy theory bullshit, and they go, oh, I bet you're gonna call me a conspiracy theorist. Yeah! Yeah! Lampshading what you're doing doesn't undo the thing you're doing. You're nuts!
Disprove anything I've said. You have no evidence, you read nothing. You probably sit in the corner and slap yourself with a leather glove and pet a dead cat half the time you're alone.
What? What the fuck is he talking about?
Disprove anything I've said. You have no evidence, you read nothing. You probably sit in the corner and slap yourself with a leather glove and pet a dead cat half the time you're alone.
Is that a reference to something I'm missing?
I know I actually educate myself on this stuff. Why? Because freedom means something to me.
Thanks for letting me know, Nemesaur. So, no driver's licenses, but perhaps license plates. Makes sense.
U.S. military veteran. I made a promise, and I always keep my word. So whether or not you decide to join the MTO tribe of Indians is irrelevant. What we are is a group of private, law-abiding, and neutral in any war between the United States citizen and the United States corporate entity. You'll find that information in the Trading with the Enemy Act of 1917, reaffirmed by Roosevelt.
Mandrake POE, what do you want me to look up in Black's Law Dictionary?
Another Democrat. Think that's an accident? Yeah. When you put all this together, people, you shut off all your entertainment. So that's what Caesar said. We entertain the people, they will not revolt, right? You shut that off, you start educating yourselves, you're going to start to see why so many fathers out there, more than 33 veterans per month, right? 21, they say, is the minimum. I think it's probably closer to 33. But do you know how many fathers commit suicide because their children are taken from them? And some vindictive female in the United States?
Vindictive female. I'm thinking this language might be explaining a bit why the kids were taken away.
You know, decide...
Could I do legal and lawful? I can see if they're separate. I'm not sure if they will be, but I'll try.
She wants to inflict as much emotional pain as possible. Doesn't give two shits about whether or not he's a good father. Whether or not he's actually going to be a good man who's going to raise those children correctly. No. I have an agenda. I got my own thing going over here. I won't even get into...
It's so funny that he can't imagine that genuinely the court looked at him and was like, yeah, you're not fit to be their parent. Like, he assumes it must be some sort of, like, agenda. Because obviously, he's so rational and competent. How could anyone say that he's not competent to be a parent and take care of a child?
To my story, you wouldn't believe it if I told you. I was the blue ribbon winner of stupidity in choosing. However, I have 3 beautiful babies, so I can never regret it.
Not anymore, bitch!
I would go through 100 of her to get to every one of them. So when my last leaves, I'm going out and I'm going to remarry. But just like I told my sons, Daddy's probably never going to remarry. The odds are pretty slim because I will not do anything I haven't told you to do. And unapologetically, I told them, unless she is a virgin who has taken her obligation to God seriously, she is not worthy of your ring. Period. They are entitled to a Proverbs 31 woman. And unlike Andrew Tate, I actually come from this biblical perspective.
Oh boy. This is a lot, isn't it? Okay, lawful versus legal. Lawful. Legal. Warranted or authorized by the law, having the qualifications prescribed by law, not contrary to or forbidden by law. Legal is conforming to the law, according to the law, required or permitted by law, not forbidden or discountenanced by law, good and effectual in law. So basically the same thing.
Although I love that guy and everything that he says so far that I've heard, I haven't heard anything, that I disagree with. He sees the same thing that I do. That, unfortunately, the juice just isn't worth the squeeze anymore in the United States. And for those of us...
The juice isn't worth the squeeze. He's talking about women, half of the population of Earth, as property that is transactional.
Us who have actually traveled to countries where men are appreciated, where women adore American men, where you're a big fish.
Sir, I promise they don't adore you. They adore the idea of having American money and not having to live in the country that they've grown up in because, you know, developing nations kind of fucking suck to live in sometimes. Fenekagami says, here's the thing, though. Even if you're a good person, that doesn't mean you're a good parent. It's like how having good politics doesn't make you a good person. Yeah.
Fish in a very, very huge pond. That is absolutely the type of elixir that gets men to see what it's all actually about. Feminism was destroying the family unit from the beginning. They admitted that.
When did they admit that, sir? Who admitted that on behalf of feminism? The concept?
About creating two taxpayers and then getting access to your children. That's why I have no use for working women. I don't want one. I want a homemaker.
It's okay. I don't think most women want you either, sir. It's okay.
I want a housewife. I don't care what you do. I've never been impressed by your money. Men don't impress me. Women who try to act like men impress me even less. What impresses me is a woman who can actually raise incredibly educated as well as very mentally stable children. And when they do not have...
Yeah, he wants a bang maid.
...that when you have to escape to a job, guess what? The children suffer. But again, we're talking about that parent who actually has the capacity to shut off that emotional thing, that protective thing that dads have, and drag that screaming kid away anyway. These men...
Is he that delusional that he doesn't think mothers have a protective instinct of their children? Like, is he that deranged that he has convinced himself of that?
Who are...
That's hilarious.
...committing suicide. Men like Adam Anderson, who's been incarcerated because his little girl was taken from him. He was incarcerated because he spoke out too much, because he started babies and bullies. You need to look that one up, jump in behind that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and guess he was not arrested for starting some random organization. It was probably some sort of crime he committed.
If not, I think you're an asshole. He's a 2-time Afghanistan veteran.
So? You think that if you went to Afghanistan, you can't be a fucking asshole? Like, what are you talking about?
At the end of the day, you have to decide who you are going to be. And if you don't believe in God, shut this off now. You have bigger problems. But if you do believe in God, you have to understand that we only have a short time here. But we have all eternity to look back on what we did. What are you going to be? The Mato tribe of Indians is about saving children.
I don't understand why people who believe in eternal life, like, believe that, like, this is, like, a very short period, and then they're just gonna, like, you know, go to heaven or whatever. Why do you even bother doing anything on Earth? Like, what would the point be? I don't get it. Just a Peach with 4 months says he needs an education on history. Also, mom's needs are important, but not to him. Probably what got him into this mess.
From these vermin.
M. Scheffler says, you know, I don't think I ever heard of a man getting super strength and lifting a car off their child, but I have heard of moms doing that. Depraved Ambiance says, yes, Hannah, it ties into his extremely strict gender roles. Men are protective, women are not men, therefore women are not protective. It's affirming the consequent, but that's the least of his problems here. Yeah.
From parental alienators, child abusers. I'm talking about all of these women who have raised 90% of the prison population. Congratulations, you earned it. Women suck at raising children alone. Men statistically do it just fine. Why? Because we protect them. They're not wampum to us. They're not an income stream. If you're not capable of supporting yourself, maybe you shouldn't have kids. Maybe you shouldn't be out here jumping onto the welfare program that was intended to enslave you. Did you look at all families of black or African American, whatever terminology you want to use. They're Indians to me. But that particular segment.
What? Oh, God!
Of my family.
That's so there's so much wrong with that. I don't even, what do you even say is bad first?
Tree. We used to have like a 98% or some ridiculously high
fractal racism
rate in our community for marriages, for children not born out of wedlock. But just like Johnson said, I'll have them voting Democrat in 10 years. How's that? Because they incentivize paying you for each child per month. But the stipulation is it has to be a fatherless home.
Benekagami says, notice how he assumes criminal intent or mental health issues weren't there before the divorce. Like, maybe the guy already had problems and that's why the divorce happened. Like, dude, married men commit Minecraft themselves and go to jail. Nerdy says, he's so bad that if that doesn't impress me much was... Wait. He's so bad that if that don't impress me much was 20 verses long, he still wouldn't get in the song. Also, had to share this ridiculous stat I heard earlier. The Krakatoa eruption was 4 times more powerful than the biggest man-made explosion ever. We've managed 50 megatons. Krakatoa was 200. Glad I wasn't on that mountain.
What does that incentivize? Baby mamas, Escalade, 6 kids, $12,000 a month welfare checks.
Just a Peach with a $2 super chat says most people in prison are from poor families, period.
All this other stuff. Why? Because the kids are just an income stream in America to most women.
They're really not, and the fact that you think that is so wild. That's not how most people see their kids. Like, there are some assholes in the world, both men and women, that do that. Not most. Fuck off.
And that's a fact. I don't care if you like it. I don't care if it hurts your, intellectual.
Did he say 12,000 a month in welfare? Because I didn't hear him say that. That'd be fucking hilarious. Does he think people get, like, thousands and thousands of dollars a month in welfare? Come on, man.
Perception of what it is to be, civil. I don't care about being civil when we're talking truth. And just like the scripture says, in many ways, you're going to be hated for speaking the truth. That's fine. I'm unapologetically the least, or at least I work to be the least of all bondservants of Christ anyway. So take your best shot. But you're never going to hear me say I'm anything special. I'm nobody special and nothing special. I'm just a father of 3 beautiful babies.
I actually don't think he's driving right now. There's someone next to him driving. You can see in the reflection of his sunglasses. He's in the passenger seat and there's someone else driving. The numbers he's talking aren't even close to the truth. Oh, I know.
And a veteran who said that he would do what he needed to do when the time came. And this is my lawful, legal, peaceful way of educating people. Because the truth is that there was actually a trust fund established. You need to go read up on it. And that is put there for the benefit of the Indians. Not the federal and the state corporations pretending to be federal and state government. They're contractors, remember that. I don't care what federal 3-letter agency you're talking about, FBI, CIA, NSA, any of them. They're all corporations with DUNS numbers and EINs. Go look it up on Dun & Bradstreet.
Will Kale, with an 85 stream streak says, oh hey, good night, y'all.
Bradstreet.
Does he know that, like, the CIA has employees? Because an EIN is like an employer identification number. It's what you use when you have employees and you need to have that for tax purposes. Like the IRS, the CIA, whatever government agency. They're probably going to have EINs because they have employees. That doesn't make them private for-profit companies. That means they have employees. Does he not know that? Does he not know what an EIN actually is?
So what does that mean? That means that your corporate entities have taken you over by converting you from an American Indian to a U.S. citizen without your knowledge. It started with the birth certificate and the social security number. Then they coerced you into signing up for selective service at age 18. Go read all of the ads and everything else that are out there consistently. Why? Because under their laws at 18, you become an American Indian. Unless you give them all of that authority back. Go read.
Incorrect. None of that's true. Signing up for selective service is not voluntary in the United States. If you are a man, you legally have to when you are 18. I had to do it because I was not out of the closet yet.
The document.
Luckily, I'm not allowed in the military these days, so not an issue for me.
There are a number of things that I had to rescind on the record in order for me to be able to prove that I was no longer a U.S. citizen. And I'm still not sure if I've accomplished that. But I finally got back to my home county. I filed my, affidavit, not affidavit, but my notarized and apostilled birth certificate and live birth, respectively, and then had those certified in the county in which I was born. Now I need to put that on the organic record, I also put on there, had certified and notarized my worldwide common law copyright that I put in the newspaper. Why? Because the newspaper makes it legal. Remember, any court you walk into is just a corporation. If you're filing documents in there, they're a private corporation. They're laughing at you. That's why, again, they consider all matters in the Bar Association, the British Accredited Registry. Let me say that again.
That's not, the bar doesn't stand for anything. It's not an acronym. There is nothing that needs to be acronymed. It's not the British Accreditation Registry. It's just the bar. It doesn't stand for anything.
Again, the British Accredited Registry.
Again, that's not correct. He's wrong. That's a thing sovereign citizens made up.
Where they have to actually come in and swear an oath. Go look it up, the oath to the Bar Association. That supersedes their oath to we the people, as far as I've read. I didn't see anything in there that says it's subservient to it.
Overthought says, fun fact, right-wing cheerleader and Michigan rocker Ted Nugent famously shit himself in order to get out of military service. I did know that.
So what should one believe when they read that? I think a discerning person would obviously come to the logical conclusion that maybe, hey, you know what? They're not working for us. Maybe that's why Bar Association attorneys get to charge thousands of dollars so that you can be hauled into court for victimless crimes. What would happen if you changed your status back to an American Indian who is not taxed according to the Constitution? Go read it, 1789.
Sir, you're not an American Indian.
Says it in there twice. If you were born in this country, you are by definition an American, Native American. Think.
Okay, that's not what that word means legally, though. I understand that you think you're being clever by tearing apart the literal meaning of the individual words and going, we're all indigenous because we're all born here. You're completely missing the point. This isn't some secret code that you can tear apart. It's clear what that means. When we're talking about indigenous Americans, we know that we're talking about the, ethnic groups that have existed here prior to colonialism. That's what we're talking about. There's not a secret code that changes the meaning. You're not gonna pedantic your way out of this or into this or whatever. This isn't clever is what I'm saying. It's like he thinks he came up with something clever, but it's the stupidest thing ever, and he doesn't get that everyone is just laughing at him about this unless you're also a crackpot.
Think. However, we are the only tribe of American Sioux and Assiniboine or any other federally recognized tribe lineal descendancy who actually are like our ancestors.
You're not federally recognized, to be clear.
We are led by the chief of the tribe who happens to be of the people of the plains, born in the Teton Mountain range of Idaho. So I am of the people. But my Mato tribe of Indians might be black, they might be white, they might be green, they might be purple. As long as you're peaceful and you can follow a few simple rules and you understand the difference between public and private, and you want to change your status back to being an American Indian, and you want to go through the paperwork properly and correctly, then please do so. If you just want to come in and You know, set up your own little hobby shop, do something in there and trade your labor for whatever you want. That's your business, it's private. That's what we do. We go out and we want to put a village in every single country, but we want it to look like that country. Show us your customs. I want to see them. I want to see all the wonderful things your craftspeople do. Let me see how your knowledge has been accumulated over the years, and then we can share that knowledge between each other. That's why over the crest of every single motto entrance it says, all who enter in here agree to share information freely. That means your knowledge. I'm not talking about proprietary secrets, crap like that. I'm talking about showing people how to do things. Educate each other. That's what we're about.
Mr. Peach says several tribes elect their chiefs and leaders, so, well, his isn't real, so he can do whatever he wants.
About family, and we're about being a tribe. God bless, friends. Feel free to leave any comments or ask any questions.
That guy's so interesting. I know we've been watching him a lot on the Sobsit stuff lately, but he's just fascinating to me. I don't know. It's the confidence. It's the utter confidence in the scam, in the bullshit, like, narrative he's woven. It's so interesting. Have I seen his compound? I have not. M. Scheffler with 100 bits says, where is his village? I want to see it. Doubt. I don't think it's anything he's, like, built yet. I think it's stuff he wants to happen. I could be wrong, though.
If there's one thing in the world that people lack, it's the understanding of the concept sovereignty. If more people understood this, oh, so important concept, my goodness, what a different, magnificently different world we would be living in. So what is sovereignty? Are you sovereign? Are your friends and family sovereign? Well, watch and find out. Sovereignty is supreme authority of your character, your mind, yourself. Sovereignty is an objective self-identification of status in relationship to reality by independently evaluating the nature of yourself and the facts of existence. It is to utilize the power of one's mind and its method of reason to recognize the fact that you have the ultimate last say on all your beliefs, ideas, and actions. It is to accept the fact that as a thinking, rational, and intelligent being, there are no powers above you that have a greater claim to your judgment and subsequent actions.
Okay, but here's the thing. People aren't very good at analyzing if they're reasonable or intelligent. Most people are not. Not excluding myself from that, by the way. So, like, what about that? That's one thing about Enlightenment thinking that kind of annoys me. I love the Enlightenment. Wonderful thing. The mass adoption of rationality. Beautiful thing. But I think we kind of skipped a step where we are assuming that people are rational and creating rules as though people are rational. And the thing is, they're not. They're capable of rationality. We're all capable of rationality. But it's not the default. It's far from the default. So, maybe stop acting like it is.
To be fully sovereign is to be fully responsible for one's being. A sovereign is one who independently fact-checks all his ideas and does not allow himself to proclaim possibility, probability, or certainty on any issue on an unanalyzed basis. A sovereign does not believe anything, for to believe is to accept something as true without proof. He knows what he knows and what he does not. He does not accept ideas as true without veracious reason to. A sovereign treats his mind like his home. He doesn't allow free entry to strangers, liars, or criminals. He has the best mental security possible. Ideas which are false are rejected at the door. Only those who have proven to be
And he knows immediately which ones those are.
trustworthy, accurate, and beneficial are allowed entry. The arbitrary and the fallacious are dismissed without a second thought. A sovereign does not assume what can be known, and he does not make assumptions when he lacks evidence to make a judgment. To be sovereign,
M. Scheffler says, and yet here is this dumb fuck.
is to be honest. If one is honest with themselves, they cannot value another's claim of right to rule them more than their own independent judgment. To place any kind of ruler above them is an act of dishonesty and self-betrayal. One who is sovereign knows they have the capacity to rule themselves and actively does so. If one was to forfeit this power, they would feel like a traitor to their own mind, to their spirit. It would be as if they had fired their home security in favor of a doorman who allowed free passage to the liar and the criminal. For how could one rationally declare that another has the right to rule their mind?
Wow, he just literally opines for 40 minutes about this. I'm gonna bail from that. Stone Corbell says, imagine if everyone operated like this, where they think they ultimately dictate their own reality by how they feel about it. It would be impossible to organize things like public health, labor movements, collective action. Oh no. The consensus mechanism is broken. We're doomed. Anyway, I think that's probably about it for the day. Let's see if there's a cleanse of any kind. Mayo backpack.
Oh shit!
All right, we've been cleansed. Yeah, it's mayo. Mayo in a backpack. That was great. Slow motion. Now do that, Hannah? No. I obviously could. Juggle? Oh no. It's not gonna be so much less impressive. Here, while I juggle, watch the mayo. Can I loop this? Can I make this loop? I don't think I can. I guess just watch it the once. No! Why, you ass?
Oh shit!
Look at me, I'm juggling. It's less impressive than that guy, but I can do it a little bit. I don't think I can slow it down. It's not a YouTube video. Yeah, there's not a slowdown option. When did I learn how to juggle? When I was like 10. I've known how to juggle for a long time. Alright, anyway, let's see who we're gonna rate on Twitch. If you liked what you saw, make sure you give me a follow here on Twitch or a subscription on YouTube. Like the stream on YouTube, it helps me out. Who are we gonna raid?
So yeah.
Queen Pib, maybe? The archives.
Take us to warp 9 and pursue. Lock.
We'll raid VC archives. Alright. I will be back tomorrow. I'll see y'all soon. Have a wonderful evening. Thanks for hanging out with me. Love you, Mr. Blast. And I will see all of you soon. Sovereign citizens are kind of annoying. Have you ever noticed? Alright, bye!